Chat's already rolling. We're going to get going in 2 months. Stay Oh, and I was muted that whole time. Now the whole world can hear me. Welcome in, everybody. Glad you're here. Yes, the four horsemen with no horses. So...
Horseless Headman.
Mike with the steel. Like it. And hard cut on the music. Welcome, everybody. All right, so this is the part where we're going to adjust audio, make sure everybody can hear everyone. So check, check, check. How we doing, chat? You guys hear us okay? Check, check. Well, I already see my problem. It does this every live stream. It automatically cuts my audio by 20%. So I should be good. Yes. Yes. So, can you guys hear me okay? Mike, Matt?
Yeah.
Mark?
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Gotcha. Good, good.
Yep.
All right, you guys look good on my end. We'll see what the chat says. So, I want to welcome to the
I get this.
podcast
There
here.
we go.
So first off, we have our friend Jolly Roger, or Mark, my friend, common companion here on the stream. We also have, you guys know him, Matt from the Wyoming Gun Project, my good friend as well. And then we have a new face here. We have Mike. I'm not even going to try that last name. So
That's a long one.
okay, good. So Mike is he just started his YouTube channel, and it's called Cut Rate History. Did I get that right?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. So I don't remember who it was. I feel like it was probably this is like an Ian move. He probably sent me your channel and was like, hey, this guy's got good stuff, and he mentioned you. And when it's positive, I always watch those. I don't always watch the negatives because I just ain't nobody got time for that. But I watched yours, and then I just started scanning the videos, and I'm just like, you know what? I just feel like he's one of us, you know. Like, so I reached out and I'm like, hey, just come on stream and let's go, you know. And so thank you for being here, man. And
Thanks for having me. Absolutely.
Yeah, awesome. So, and yes, I'm going to ask all of my followers, go and subscribe to Mike, Cut Rate History, and your Cut Rate clones on Instagram, right?
On Instagram, yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, the Instagram page started first as just gun posts, and then the history, the YouTube channel was going to be just history at first, and then it kind of morphed into both.
I don't know a YouTube channel that stayed how it started.
Fair.
You know, like I think mine started out as like I'm gonna blur my face. I don't want anybody to see me. I still don't, frankly. And it's just gonna be about the guns. And now here we are. I'm doing a frickin' podcast. So, you know.
Yeah. One of us.
One of that's right. Awesome. All right, so let's look at the chats. JRK's here. Always happy to see you, man. Good to see you, bro. Okay, so we got first question of the night. David Weathers. Hello, everyone. This question is for anyone. What is your opinion on the TSAW stakeout opposed to the World War II model? I'm interested in both of them as my first 1911. That's kind of a tough one.
Yeah.
Now, the purist in me is going to go World War II very quickly. However, that stakeout, that's hard to beat, man.
That was my same like knee-jerk reaction, like World War II, obviously, but there's a lot of functional upgrades on the stakeout, which to a new shooter may be a good thing.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yep.
I agree.
Yeah, and that one, I think the newest ones still have the brass bead, right?
Yes, as far as I know.
That's such a
That was.
classy.
Oh,
I
yes.
love that, man.
Yeah, I think that's a good one to start with,
Yep.
Yeah,
and then let the nostalgia bug bite, and then you'll want to get the ASF after that.
that's right.
Yep.
That's a cool move, though, to start with the GI, though. Like, that's what I did purely by accident. It was not inspired. It was an accident that my first was a GI. But I think that's kind of the path for most people is they get one with, like, the modern comfort features and then go backwards. Yeah.
Or if you're old like me, they didn't come like that when you used to buy them.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to say Mark's old, but I'm sure he remembers that. Like I remember buying my very first 1911. It was a Colt 1991 officer's model. You didn't have, if you wanted beaver tails, you know, Novak style sights, I didn't even know if those were out yet, or any type of adjustable sight, or any type of anything do you think a standard 1911, modern 1911 comes with nowadays? You had to go to a gunsmith and get that stuff done.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
you didn't get none of those upgrades that you get that are come standard. As a matter of fact, I think Kimber was one of the first companies to they dropped that, and when they were still in Clackamas, Oregon,
Clackamas, that's right.
Yep, they dropped those in the mid 90s, and everybody was blown away because you get all the features without having to send it off to a gunsmith. It was revolutionary.
They changed the game.
They did.
Yeah, just having that sort of like off the shelf custom gun vibe.
Yep.
Yep. And now I think it's kind of inverted. Now it's like hard to find a legit GI.
It is.
Oh my God,
It is. Yeah. Yeah.
Which,
Yeah, I started so far back that we still had 1911s at basic training. So I remember, you had your Mark IV Series 80 Colts back then, and the Springfields were just out, and then your others were the horrible West Hurley Auto Ordnance 1911s, and AMT, like a hard baller or a long slide.
Yep.
So your options were really limited, and pretty much everything was GI pattern.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you had
Kimber was a game changer when they came
yeah.
out.
Yeah, you had a few smaller guys doing some cool stuff like Daytonics back then.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
other
yeah.
than that, you're right. Yeah, that was it.
Here, I'm not trying to make you guys feel bad, but that's literally before I was born. So I was born in '88. So
Well, I was wearing the country's uniform before that, so.
I like it. I like it.
But don't let the gray fool you. I'm still at the peak of freshness. So.
That's
You're darn right.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's funny. My wife earlier, she just popped in here, and she's popped in before, and I think one time my kids came in with her, and she saw Mark up on the screen, and she's like, "That guy's the same age as you, right?" I'm like, "He could be," you know.
I wish.
Yeah. Let's see here. Let me get on the chats.
But yes, stakeout. To answer that question, stakeout. I would say go stakeout first. You know,
Yeah.
Hard to beat.
especially if you plan on carrying it and all that. And like Josh and all of us have discussed before, get them now because there's some stuff going on with TSUS, and I guarantee you the prices are going to go up. You see companies like Canik and the rest of these Turkish companies, everything's going up. So if you want to get the deals now on a TSUS, don't wait.
Yeah, for so long, PSA was running daily deals on the whatever the base model TSUS is. I don't know what they call it, but
Yeah.
it was $279. The all black
Yeah.
one that's not
The service,
HDI.
yeah.
Yes, the service. Yes.
Service model.
Which
That's-
listen, it's not like there's nothing historical about it, but man, like, so that gun's great for two things. One, it's great as a base gun to build on,
Yep.
because God, just everything about those guns is so well done. Or it's a great starter gun. It's like, you're not gonna ever sell it because you're gonna have to sell it for $100, and people selling always, they can't do that. They're like, no, I'm selling it for $260 because they can't stomach selling a forged 1911 for anything less than they bought it. And it's like, dude, that's
That's what it is.
That's
there's
the
a guy on
reality of it.
TaxSwap.
Yeah, that's how the used market works.
Yeah,
That's right.
there's a guy on TaxSwap, and he's had the same T-Sauce up there for like 3 years for $400, and I'm like, brother, my brother in Christ, you're never going to sell that pistol. Like,
Yeah, I jumped into the TSOS pool when the what was it, the Halloween specials PSA had.
Yep.
You know, and I waited too long. I paid $349. They had been $329.
That's where I got
And
mine.
so,
But still,
so you're
man,
trying to
that's-
sell a used one for $400. You know, good luck with that.
Yeah, it's not going to
Yeah,
happen.
you can't beat the. That's you're right. The deal was the ASF for $329.
Yeah.
How can you beat that?
You can't. You
You
literally.
cannot.
I've got one right there. I can't pick it up, but yeah, I shot mine today. I went out to the range and I was doing some filming for upcoming videos, and I forgot my charger and my phone died. So I'm like, well, I'm out here. Might as well just go ahead and enjoy myself.
Yeah, that's right.
And it was great, man. I ran 200 rounds through the ASF, and there was one point where I was just so, because I've been shooting pretty much nothing but Colts for the past month, for all the content I've been doing on Colts, and to go back to the T-Sauce, I was just like, this is so good. Like, and there was one point where the extractor, it's one of the guns where I've done the least with out of any firearm ever. But there was one point where I was shooting, and I could hear every single piece of brass hitting the bed of my truck, going into the bed of my truck. And then I just like pointed at the berm, and I'm just watching them go in the truck. I'm just like, dunk, dunk, dunk. I was just so impressed. I'm like, this was a $320 pistol, and God, it shoots just as good as those Colts, man.
Yep.
Just amazed.
Yeah, I remember when that sale was going on, and I'm a Colt guy, you know, through and through, but I had no reservations about buying one of those.
Oh yeah,
No
I
regrets whatsoever.
love Colt too, man. Everybody knows.
Yeah.
I mean, they think I
Yeah.
hate Colt. I love Colt. It's almost like I was watching a video the other day, and they were talking about PSA AKs. Not changing the subject, but this goes in with it. And the guy's
Yeah.
like, I want PSA to do so. I want them to do so good, but they're just failing massively in their
Ugh.
AK side. And I was like, I feel the same way about Colt, man. I want them to do so good. I watched a video from Chris. I don't know if you guys know his Small Arms Solutions channel.
Mhm.
Chris Bartucci used to work for Colt during the time that General Keys was running the place.
Yeah.
And he talks about, he just put a video out about Colt's individual carbine or whatever, and the rifles that they submitted for the SCAR program. And I'm like, God, Colt cannot get out of their own way. They would not release those rifles for civilian sales. And they would have sold those by the truckload. People want those. And they were just like, nah, we're not going to release it. Nah,
It's like
they had
HK.
all this cool, yeah, same shit. They have
Yeah.
all this cool stuff. And they're just like, we don't care. We're not going to release it. And you're like, why?
Yeah, man, it's very frustrating, and I'm with
It
you,
is
So,
man.
so
Like,
so many
frustrating.
companies just blowing great opportunities. Like you brought up PSA. JJE buys Nodak Spud. So like the best American made AK receivers. And now they're just they threw those QC. Would they fire those QC guys? They didn't bring those
Maybe.
guys on board. What are we doing here? You have they're buying FN barrels and like Romanian parts kits, and you're throwing this away because you don't want to spend a little extra money on QC. You could be dominating the AK market right now, and you just won't. What are we doing here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what's sad about that is, so my best friend in the whole world, his wife has a family member. I don't want to get too specific because they might figure it out, but who works is like a higher up. I can't get too specific, but in PSA, and he was talking about how this family member took him on a tour. Now this was years ago, but at that time they were talking about how they lose money on their QC because they pour so much time and labor into QC. He went back a few years ago, and now it's completely inverted because now their shipping department is completely overloaded. So now all those QC people are over into the shipping department, and QC shrunk. You see what happened? And so I'm not saying that's not definitive, it's hearsay, but it's pretty inside knowledge from the mouth of the guy who works there. And yeah, it's really unfortunate. You know, I did an Instagram like Ask Me Anything thing yesterday, and I love those, and I love just talking with people in the chat. It's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
But somebody asked me that question: if you got the job to take over Colts QC, would you do it? And I said no, because I've been in a corporate company, in a big company. I've been one of the higher ups. And when you get to that level, you realize it's never one person. It's this guy and his buddies who don't care, and then their buddies who don't care, and then it's the CEO who doesn't want to make that guy feel bad. Like, it's a systematic problem. And so the fact that Colts QC is bad means the person above QC is asleep at the wheel. So, no, I wouldn't take that job because everything I would fix would revert back to its default settings a week after I was gone.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the focus is more, it seems like nowadays, and it's not just Colt, you know, we mentioned PSA, HK, all those. It seems like the focus is more on profit and money and squeezing every last penny that they can out of said product, whatever it is. And it seems like these companies, a lot of them start, like you mentioned, Nodexpa, they start as usually an enthusiast who's very passionate about, guys like us, very passionate about this stuff. And then as soon as it gets corporatized and bought out and gets to a certain size, it's like, can you save us $1 per pistol? Which is why I think that, like in Colt's case, they're not, I always complain, everyone I've bought so far of the 14 that I currently own, I know Mark has more, have come with one magazine.
Yeah.
It's like, why would you send one magazine? Well, if you figure it costs them $5 to $10 per magazine, and they sell them for 20 or whatever, if they're shipping out 500,000 pistols, do the math, and it's $10 per pistol that they served. Yep. Plastic mainspring housing. How can we make this same gun with cheaper parts? And they just keep getting them cheaper and cheaper and cheaper to squeeze more money out of it, you know? And I get it. They deal with stuff. It's not completely just we're greedy capitalists type of steal all this money. They're dealing with tariff stuff, especially like with Colt being with CZ. I don't know how that works with the tariffs and taxes and regulations, and depending on what state they're in, it's all kinds of stuff involved. And then in Colt's case, the union's always threatening to strike, or they want more money, or and then they hire and I've heard this too, and I believe this, all the old gunsmiths that were around that were really killing it have all retired or died or passed on. And now they're just hiring Joe Schmo off the street, pull him in here, put him on the CNC machine and do it. And because you and I have all talked about this, modern Colt now, we're talking about modern Colt. Yeah. I buy a modern Colt, I open the box, the minute I open it, I see a flaw punching me right in my face. Yeah. And I'm like, how did you miss that? You must be blind or you don't care. And they're like, just shit them out. How do you miss no rifling? How do you miss no rifling in your barrel? And I've heard, you're not the only one. I've heard those horror stories before from other channels. Like, I had no rifling in my barrel.
Oh, Matt, it's like, we're up to 20 people now who have reached out to me personally and are like sending me pictures like, oh no, it's me too. And I would say half of them, they sent the pistols to Colt, and Colt says it's, quote, in spec. Like, no rifling on half of the barrel, and it's in spec. That's so egregious. That's so egregious. But, like, yeah, man, I think, look, I have a lot of sympathy for manufacturing in the United States is very expensive.
It is.
Very expensive, especially if you want good people who show up reliably, whose life isn't a mess and know what they're doing and they get along with other people. All these factors are really difficult. I'm in manufacturing now, and you want to cut, because look, if let's say you sell 10,000 of a thing, well, if you can save 28 cents 10,000 times, your quarter looks really good, you know, and maybe you can hire that guy or get that new machine or fix that vehicle, you know, like, so I get it, but they're forgetting the engine is making a good product. And if you can't take away from that, like, man, turn the AC up, don't have Christmas parties. That's where you need to take away first.
Yeah.
And turn out a good product.
Pizza parties.
Right, exactly. Yeah, go to pizza parties, man.
Yeah, I think with the rifling issue, we all missed when they advertised the 1776 special edition.
The musket, smoothbore. You know what's funny too is we've all talked about this, but maybe people haven't heard it. At this current moment, I think I own maybe 25 Colt products, right? Between rifles, revolvers, and their 1911s. I think I have 5, maybe more, of their AR-15 style rifles, and I haven't had a problem with them. They've all been fantastic. Little small stuff here and there, but nothing major. Revolver, same thing, minus the one I bought from Barron, which I knew had issues when I bought it. So
Right.
I'm going into that. But it just seems like they're 1911s. And all of the 1911s, I will say this, they are pretty much reliable. They're all pretty reliable and very accurate. I will give them that their national match barrels are very accurate. It's just the small cosmetic things, you know, tool marks, machining marks, scratches, broken pieces, or like the one I have, the classic I have, has the plunger tube spring drilled all the way through.
Oh,
so
dude.
it's like
I didn't know about that one. That's rough.
Yeah.
You know,
To your point, Matt, about the magazines, that's a big cost savings there.
Yeah.
But you can go back into the late 80s on the Mark IVs, and they were using the plastic mainspring housing then. And when you do something like that, that's such an inexpensive part, and it starts affecting your quality, then that takes a hit. You know, your reputation takes a hit for quality because you're using a 3-cent part instead of a $1 part. Yeah. Sending you a steel mainspring housing in a 1911. You know, they're going to obviously have a better savings by not giving you a second magazine, but when you get down to something like a mainspring housing, when they're trying to save a penny here or whatever. And I kind of get it when the 1991s came out, they had that and they had the plastic trigger shoe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that was geared towards their budget line, right?
It was direct competition for the Springfield mil-spec when it came out.
Yeah. So
But
I get that.
Here's the thing about that, though. Like, I'll be honest, the plastic stuff doesn't bother me as much if, and this is a big if the rest of the gun is a tank, and those 91s are flipping tanks, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my 91, it is the one pistol that I pick up and go, I could probably kill a bear with this. Like, just by smashing the bear, right? Like, it's so sturdy and well done. The Parkerizing's fantastic. So now let's invert that. This is something where I get a little annoyed with companies like Kimber, because they have the plastic mainspring housings, but then there's MIM everywhere else. Now, they still make a good gun, and I'm impressed with what they're doing recently, but it's look, I think if they're going to save money places, okay, fine. Mainspring housing, we can change that ourselves. Okay, fine. The trigger shoe, fine. I mean, look, I've still got the plastic shoe on my 91. It's fine.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me one bit.
Nah, plastic triggers don't bother me
No, you don't. You can't like when you
because the
start
trigger bow
shooting-
is metal on
Right.
those. So
Yeah.
Yeah, and that thing, it's literally molded around the bow. It's great. I start having problems when they start cheaping out on barrels, heat treating, your fire control unit. That's got to be top shelf, and that's something. You know, my 91. It probably has somewhere around 6,000 rounds through it before I bought it. That's just a guess, but just looking at the way it's worn, that's my guess. Well, that sear and disconnector were MIM. And that sear, dude, it was rounded off like a freaking thumb. It was worn. Now, some people say, well, that's about your rebuild rate. But I'm like, not the sear. You shouldn't be having to rebuild a sear at 6,000 rounds. Those sears should last you 20,000 rounds, if not more. In fact, Mark, you probably can speak to that. Do you still have your original stuff in your 91?
I do. I bought it in 1993, and it's still the only parts that have been replaced are springs.
Wow.
So, sear, disconnector, hammer, extractor. I've never tuned the extractor. It's never needed it. That was I got that thing, and my only experience was with some old military, rattle traps and stuff, which always worked, by the way.
They do.
Yeah.
And I took it home, cleaned it and everything, just looked it over, and I took it out to the range, and the front sight flew off. But it ran like a Rolex. It was fine, and all of the parts are still original except for the springs, which I've refreshed numerous. That gun has a little over 25,000 rounds through it.
See,
And
that's proper.
yeah, the sear spring is still original, but all of the other springs have been refreshed, regularly. But it just runs and runs and runs. It still has the original sear in it. Like I said, original hammer, disconnector. They don't show any signs of wear.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember, I sent you some photos of the frame.
Yep.
No battering on the frame after 25,000 rounds and 33 years of shooting it.
Yeah.
So take them for what they are. Nobody liked how they looked when they came out with the big ugly roll marks and the black Parkerizing.
Parkerizing, yep.
But I've owned 5 of them. I still have 3. They ran, and I think they were good value for the money.
Yeah.
I paid $400 for mine out the door, brand new. So
The good old.
What's
And that
funny
was right
about
in
that,
line.
Mark? Yeah, is nowadays with all the laser engraving and all that stuff, people are like, "Can we get the old school roll marks back,
Yes.
where the metal on the ends are just turned up just a little bit,
Yeah.
and it looks, you know what I mean?
I want the push out.
exactly.
It looks cool, yeah.
Yeah,
The metal
man,
gets pushed out a little bit.
I need
yeah.
the push out. I don't like
That's
the
right,
laser
yeah.
stuff, man.
But if
Yeah.
you think about it, back then you were getting an actual Connecticut-made Colt,
Yep.
and their biggest competitor were the Imbel Springfields.
Yep.
The Brazilian
Made in
frame
Brazil, yep,
knives,
with the
which are
two-piece
awesome
barrels.
guns. I
Yeah.
have some of them myself.
Which are bangers.
Yeah.
Real
Yeah.
quick, I want to just catch up on the chat here. We got a pile. So
Oh.
Andrew, My Life, gave a super chat. He dropped this super chat and ghosted. No message, just super chat. So
Awesome.
thank you,
Yeah,
Andrew.
well, thanks to him.
Let's see. David Weathers, it's because of you and Matt's channel that I learned about T-Sauce. I live in Alabama. I can get the World War II model through the CMP program very close to where I live. Awesome. Awesome,
sweet.
man.
That's cool.
I've seen some upgraded halfway Musak guns get sent out of the CMP.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yep.
man. That we're in such a good time to get into 1911s, man. Such a good time. Now I'm really concerned with what's going on with T-Sauce.
Yep.
It's funny, man. Like I made this video, and then Matt, you called me, and
I
we
did.
talked about
From SHOT
things.
Show. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we see SDS and T-Sauce sever. They delaminated.
Yep.
And man, I don't want
And remember,
to go away.
I told you, I was like, man, I'm at the booth, and they had spray painted over the So that to me kind of seems hasty. Like you didn't have enough time to redo your banners. They spray painted over and I'm like, what's going on? They're like, we can't talk about it. There's some issues like that. I'm like, all right, I won't touch it. Leave it alone. I won't even mention it. And that was, and then then I called you,
Yeah.
and you're like, I already made a video on that. And then now it's like, I guess it's been confirmed through multiple sources that that's
Yeah.
what's going on. So
I'm getting, I don't even know how many a day where people are like, oh, do you see their website? Because their website's all whacked out and like,
Yeah.
well, SDS Imports or TSUS?
TSauce.
He says.
Oh,
And TSauce, like, I know several people, like 5 or 6, where I've got several collaborations with TSauce on Instagram. They pulled all their collaborations.
I remember you told me that. You're like, did I do
Yeah.
something wrong or what? You know?
Yeah, like I was
They
kind of
did for
freaked out.
everybody.
I'm like, do they think I'm like, I don't know. I thought, I'll be honest with you, I made a comment in a video where I said that I don't have to feel bad for being white, basically. And I thought, that's got to be it. They saw that
That's
and they're
gotta
like,
be.
political correctness, and they whacked me.
Yeah.
But that wasn't it, because several
No.
people were like, no, they pulled all their collabs. It's strange. It's very
Yeah.
strange.
I heard a rumor. I don't know, just rumor
Yep.
that they were not happy with the prices, what their guns were selling for, and they want more money on their guns. I don't know that that's true. There's just a rumor, but it kind of makes sense because I myself and we have all talked about it. How the heck are they selling these guns
Dude.
that cheap? How? You know, so but they got to be very careful because if they come in too high, you and I have talked about it. Now you're within a couple $100 where never, ever, ever underestimate brand recognition
Yes.
because the layman
yeah.
on the street is going to go, if you said Colt or this TSauce, I've never heard of TSauce. I'm going with Colt. And if they're within $100 to $150 of each other, people are going to go Colt all day long. They're going to go Springfield all day long. They're gonna
Springfield
go
for
Kimber.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to go Kimber, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they go up even a little bit now. You're going to be right in the same ballpark as a Garrison.
That's right.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
That's a good point too, because man,
So
those,
it makes it really hard to choose TSUS.
yeah, the Garrisons, the thing that they've got going for them, they are the most affordable, well-blued 1911 on the market.
Yes.
Agreed.
My buddy John, he's got one, and which I'm going to be doing some videos with him, at least with his guns. I'm not sure he wants to be
Nice.
on camera. He just got a Henry 4570,
Ooh.
and I'm like, I need that for a day. I just need that for a day. Because I want to compare it to my Winchester. But anyway, he's got a Garrison, and man, like he brought it over, and I'm just doing the checks. Us 1911 guys, you can feel a gun without shooting it and know what's
Yep.
up, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
I was just feeling it, and I'm like, this looks really good. It feels really good. It's not quite as well set up. It's typical Springfield. The barrel, they don't care about barrel fit at all. They slingshot those barrels in from across the room. They don't care about that at all.
Drop in. They're dropping literally.
But the trigger was great. Slide was surprisingly good fit. All the controls, nice, just the right weights and everything. And I was just like, man. So back to the conversation, like, yeah, it's going to be a tough sell for TSauce because I get it. They're selling pistols like crazy. But to you guys' point, if they start creeping up on the mil spec range or the even just like the Colt Classic's probably their best selling pistol.
Probably.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you can get them for high 7s, low 8s. If you catch them on a deal, they hover right around 800 bones.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
And that's just nobody. Now for me, for nerds like us, I would still buy the ASF because of the spec, because it's like nobody's making like a Remington Rand like that. Nobody.
no, yeah.
Like, and their guns are just set up better. It's a fact. Like those guns, I feel like Matt, you bought the three of us bought
Yeah.
that ASF like the same week.
Yep.
And
That whole was it Halloween, Mark?
Yeah.
I think you're right. It was the Halloween deal.
Halloween
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yep.
And
Oh.
all three of us were like, dude, this is really good.
Yep.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, when I got mine, and Josh and I talked, it's like, I'm looking at it, being open-minded, coming from Colt country, and like, this thing's machined well in places where it doesn't have to be.
Yes.
You know, inside of the slide, inside of the
Mhm.
frame where it doesn't matter, and like, and it beats most of my Colts for good precision machining. And
Yep.
going back to what started this, that one comment, I knew about TSUS myself, but I got into it because of your videos as well.
Mhm.
Well, I need to learn a little more about these. I have a Garrison. It's a fantastic pistol. When I got it, it needed one thing right off the bat, is it's got slimline grips.
Mm.
So I changed out the bushings and put grips that fit my hand. My hand's pretty big. After that, and knowing all of the MIM parts and all the rest, everything's fitted pretty well on it. It runs great.
Mhm.
So that was the only thing I knew I would change on it, and that's the only thing I have changed. And it was $700.
Yeah.
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 It's
Yeah,
another good
Springfield.
value. So if TSUS gets up in that range, the market's gonna
It's
be
gonna be
more
tough for them because the
Yeah.
other companies have something they don't, especially Colt. Colt's been around what, 200 years now, maybe
Yeah.
one. So they got they're like them, Winchester, Remington. You're talking about quintessential all American brands,
Yep.
right? People that aren't casuals know those names and associate them with firearms. But you got Kimber, you got Springfield's been around 40, 50 years now.
Yeah.
So they have spent decades building up their brand name, and here comes new kid on the block offering arguably a better product and for lower costs, and they're gaining momentum and speed, but it's going to take them several decades to get up to that level, just like Canik. Canik came in and people were like, what the heck are these Turkish? And now they've been around 20 years or more, and people are like, okay, they're legit.
And
Yeah.
now
So-
people are
You guys-
using them in
You guys
competitions.
probably
and stuff.
remember with the Springfield XD, that
Yes.
took a long time for people to come around to think about that, seriously consider those.
Yeah.
And it's a good pistol, but it
Let
took a
me-
long time to build a reputation and get people to think, well, it's not a Glock, but it's pretty good,
Yes.
Yep.
I think for TSUS, what really put him on that map was that Raider. That really broke him wide open. Now, it's my understanding that TSUS had been in the country for a while, but they were full of MIM parts and they were not
Yes.
very good pistols.
I
And
worked
then
on
they
one.
switched it up.
Yes.
Yeah.
And,
I worked on one like 10 years ago when like the very first ones.
Mhm.
And I just told the guy, I said, man, I don't want to make you feel bad, but you lit $300 something on fire.
On fire.
This
it's
this
a pile.
pistol, I'm like, dude, this pistol's so bad. And I like literally, he was in my garage where I used to work on stuff. And I took out, at that time, I had a Colt Combat Elite. I had a Kimber that I hated. Kimber was so bad. And then I had a pile of Springfields. I had 2 TRPs. I had the MC Operator. I had 2 Loadeds. And then I had 2 mil specs. I was a Springfield guy, hardcore. And I'm like, and I explained all these details to him. And when TSUS came back up on the radar recently, the past few years, I was just like, I've been there before. No,
Yep.
not doing it. And anyway, I've told that story. But Mike, your first one was a Raider, right?
Yeah, that's what got me into it, into TSAS. That was at least 2 years ago, maybe 3.
Mm-hmm.
And I was real hot and bothered for a real M45A1. The custom shop ones are $2,500.
God.
The issue ones are
Only
way more than that.
100.
Oh, USMC
So, like-
marked. I've seen them go for $5,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like it ended up, I thought it was a pipe dream, and then it was Grantham posted a picture of a Raider on his Instagram, and I was like, what is that, and who makes that, and I need it.
Mm.
Did a little research. I ended up getting that gun for like $600,
Yep.
and everything else is history. I mean, that 1911. That was my second 1911 technically, but I have more rounds on that gun than all of the other ones, and no malfunctions that weren't magazine related. I mean, it's a great gun, and after that, I just the floodgates were open. I got an ASF. I put a bunch of Remington. I've got a Remington Rand slide. Very long story, but basically had a Remington Rand parts kit. Put it on an ASF frame.
Yeah.
I have the Stingray carry. I got the Musoc. I mean, they're all. I built another like the V2, the V4, whatever it is, Musoc out of the Duty. I mean, the floodgates were open. It was game over.
Now, does the Raider have? Because I remember Colt, they caught some heat for it, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. But they used was it the full fat 1913 rail? Like it's this massive thick rail.
Yeah, it was like
Yes.
proprietary, and it won't work with standard 1913 stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does
Yeah.
the Raider have that, or is it a standard?
No,
It's a
standard.
regular one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's good.
they did that
because-
smartly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because
Mhm.
that would have been like it's the same thing with look, I love Glocks. We all love Glocks, okay?
Mhm.
But you guys remember when they did a short run of those? What were they? The R something F? I don't remember what
No.
they were.
RTF, the rough texture frame.
Yes, and some
Yes.
of them
Yeah.
had the standard 1913 rail. I was like, "Welcome to the club, Glock! Like, here we go. These are a proper rail." Because those stupid proprietary rails.
Oh my God.
Oh man, it's so annoying. Like I've got Streamlights and Surefires, and it's like they all have to wear the Glock thong is what I call it,
Mm.
because you can't
Yep.
put anything else. Glock kind of dominates everybody. I know a guy who will cut that one front rail to a 1913 size, and he does a great job. So you can do that, but I wish. They.
Why are we still doing proprietary stuff? Like, why
man.
doesn't the HK still makes the USP and the P2000 with a proprietary rail?
Yes.
What are we
Mhm.
doing?
Yep.
Come on, at least give me the option to not have an adapter.
Yeah. It would be like, you guys know the Winchester 1907, one of my favorite rifles ever. It would be like Winchester re-releasing that in 351 again. It'd be like, no, do it in 38. Like.
By the way, Josh,
Yeah.
you just reminded me. I can show this on camera though. But
Okay.
look, this is what you got to get to cut your brass because you're cutting it from 223. I watched your.
Yep.
I forgot to email this to you. This is a little tiny chop saw,
Yeah.
and this gauge is to cut 300 blackout. Oh, straight. this little red thing right here is separate,
Mm.
and you can cut. I cut 300 blackout brass with that.
Okay.
From 5.56, and you were talking about you cut it and then you drill it and do that. That'll do it all for you. Cut it just a little bit long, then trim it, and it'll speed up your production like
I like that.
fire. I'll send
Yeah.
it to you.
Send me a link, yeah. I mean,
I think I got it off of Amazon for $30 or something like that. And
Oh,
you just
dude.
chew, it just chops all the crap out of brass.
see, if I shot my, I'm just, dude. I'll be honest with you. I'm just scared to shoot that 1907 too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if it breaks.
Oh man, if I blow it up, you guys won't see me for a while. I'm gonna, I'm gonna be in a bad spot. Let me catch up on the chats here. See what you guys are saying. A whole bunch. Yes, yeah. We didn't talk about that at the front. Some people are talking about the Super Bowl. JLD Archery says Super Bowl or FUD for Life live chat. FFL every time. Yes.
Yes, Fuds unite.
I'll be honest with you. I planned it on this day for a few reasons. Just because we got a busy month coming up, and I didn't want to just go that long without a live stream. But also, somebody asked me today. They're like, "Are you gonna watch the Super Bowl?" And I was like, "Am I gonna watch a satanic ritual for halftime?" No, thank you.
No, I'm good.
I feel like most people are like, and not only that, the NFL is just so gone in the first
It
place,
is.
man.
It is.
It's basically professional wrestling at this point.
Yeah, they ruined it.
That's so true.
That woke crap has ruined every bit
Yeah.
of entertainment aside from like this stuff, which I think is why people flock to YouTube. It's so funny because you'll see YouTubers get millions of views on something and then Hollywood crash and burn or those because you ruined
Yep.
everything. You've ruined movies, you ruined professional sports, you ruined everything with this junk. And nobody wants to put up with it. So they just walk away
Yep.
and they go do their own thing. I haven't watched the Super Bowl in, 10 years plus or whatever, because
Same.
they just ruined it.
Oh, I'll never forget being like, oh man, probably 14 years old, and I'd gone with my granddad out of state to go do carpentry. He had a carpentry business, and he brought me along at 14, and I was out there hanging drywall and doing tongue and groove flooring, and I started young. And I'll never forget, we were watching the Super Bowl with Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake when he ripped her boob out, right? And I'm sitting there with my granddad, like, thanks NFL. Now you made this whole thing weird,
Awkward.
you know. It's like he rips it off, and we're both just sitting there like,
That just
I gotta go to the bathroom, you know. Oh man. Let's see. We've got another super chat here from Scratch Guns. Colt and Kimber need to be lowered from the high horses they have sat on for years with the inexcusable QA issues from recent product lines. I don't think higher prices for TSOS guns is a problem. That's a good point. That's not a bad take. I mean, look, Colt and Kimber are, everybody's feeling the heat from TSOS right now. I think we can all agree that they're all kind of going, dang it. However, that's a good point that, like, there does need to be a little bit of humility. And look, I think ever since Kimber got rid of that, who's that CEO that
Ron Cohen, who runs SIG now.
Can we just call him the Pale Horse Rider?
Yeah, I know.
He's just, and his name was Death.
yeah.
Ever since they got rid of him, it seems like things are on the up and up. So
Yeah, I've said it. You've said it in several videos. They're on their redemption arc, man.
Mm-hmm.
They're coming back up. They're realizing they were having issues, and they're trying to right that ship. They're turning it around. And all the examples I've seen, they are.
I think a sweet thing for them to do, especially the way that TSOS is moving, but cloning is huge right now.
Mm-hmm.
If Kimber released like a rerun of the ICQB pistol,
oh man,
that would sell like hotcakes.
Or here's another thing they could do. I don't think they'll do it, but now look, I'm a big fan of their Schwartz. Not there; it's been around since the 30s, but the Schwartz safety system. It's transparent to the user. Like, I had a guy, in fact, this was funny. He was arguing with me in the comments. He's like, I'm telling you, I just bought a Kimber, and there is no Series 80 system. And I'm like, dude, I'm telling you.
You're right. It's a Schwartz.
Right.
Yeah.
I said, it's in the grip safety. And he commented 2 days later, and he's like, I had no idea. That's a good system, right? But anyway, if Kimber, even if they just did a limited run and did some ones, if they just released like a TLE 1 Series 70, I think people would pee their pants. They would just flip out because, at the end of the day, we all, I think 1911 guys who are shooters, the Series 80 system means nothing. Like, it's like, okay, whatever. But if we're being honest, if we had the choice, most of us probably going to pick Series 70.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here.
Colt, what did that one say?
Especially since, let me just mention something on that, Josh, that
Yes.
TSUS does with that too. The Series 80, obviously, and for those that don't know, is a firing pin block. Because the 1911 has the inertial firing pin, if it is dropped on its muzzle on certain surfaces and stuff like that, and it has a round in the chamber, the firing pin can continue to move forward, hit the primer, and set off a cartridge, right? But to get around that, you can still have Series 70, but what TSUS does, and a lot of companies have done this, they have titanium firing pins. So they're lighter, and they effectively do the same thing that a Series 80 does without the machining. And I think that's probably one of the reasons that companies don't do it, really, is bottom line, is the extra machining, the extra parts, the extra moving, all that kind of stuff. They're just like, well, let's throw a titanium firing pin in there, and it accomplishes the same goal, and we don't have to do any extra machining or complicated work or anything like that.
I think it goes deeper. There's even, and this dovetails us into, we'll go ahead and, Mark, if you want to do that section we talked about with your pictures you sent me.
Sure.
But to lead us into that, a lot of people don't realize this. But even if a 1911 is Series 80, there are drop safe requirements, and Glock was a big driver for this because they became like a true drop safe gun. Their safety or their safe action system really is very good, very reliable. Their trigger is almost unaffected by inertia. Like it's a brilliant system. So anyway, that changed the game and now sort of created a new benchmark in the country for drop safe requirements. And how that affected the 1911 world is now all these 1911 makers, they're using carbon steel firing pins and just regular standard length springs. Now you started to see them switch to 9mm firing pins, and even in some cases titanium and 9mm. And somebody was, actually I get this all the time. People are like, oh, that's a cost saving measure. It's not. What it is, and I don't remember the exact states, but like there's like 30 states where they accept their drop safe requirement. They will accept a titanium firing pin, 45 caliber pin with a standard spec spring. But states like, like California, the reason TSOS can't sell there, they don't meet the drop safe requirements. That's really it. And so what a lot of companies will do is they'll just blanket change their entire line of guns to the firing pin design that meets the most states so they can sell more guns in more states. It's that simple. And people have a problem with the 9mm firing pin. You'd never know. Like, they actually work just fine. There's not ignition issues. It's only the purists like us who would have a problem. But anyway, I do want to, I'm going to pull up some pictures here. My computer really wants me to use Paint to view pictures. All right, so it's on stream. So Mark, I've got I don't know, they're not in any particular order, but if you want to sort of walk us through what you had in mind here for this system.
I don't see any of the photos. Okay, there we go. I see that. So that is the original Colt Series 80 system. It's been copied by Auto Ordnance. Remington used it, I think. Taurus.
Mm-hmm. And they've
pretty
done it
much
terribly,
anybody,
by the way.
pretty much anybody that has a firing pin safety, except for Kimber, uses a version of this since the patents have long expired on it. The parts are interchangeable. But that's the original system there. And if you look at the very bottom piece there, which I call Donald Duck, if you look at him, the trigger bow presses against that, and you can see where the holes are. That's your pivot points. But what all that does is it ends up pushing up onto a plunger, and it has to, there's a cutout in the firing pin, like a dished in port, and that allows the firing pin to go past the plunger there and go forward enough to strike the primer on the cartridge. Now it looks like a lot, but it's 4 extra parts. Now there's additional machining that goes into the slide in the frame. You also have a different firing pin stop in the back. But for a long time, Colt was putting Series 80 parts in Series 70 guns, Series 70. So right there, we're looking at, that is I'm gonna have to expand this myself because it's really small.
Yeah, I've got
That is a series. That's a Series 80 extractor. If you look at it, right by the large shank in the back, you can see a cutout in there, and that allows the plunger to go up through there.
Yep.
So your extractors are not interchangeable.
And just to confirm that for you, Mark, my Colt pre-war reproductions, one of them has a Series 80 extractor in it, and it's not a Series 80 system.
Right. They just grab things out of the parts bin, so you probably will have a Series 80 extractor in any modern Colt, any brand new Colt. You will probably also have the firing pin plate in the back of the slide as a Series 80.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't recommend people necessarily take parts out of a gun and disable a safety mechanism, especially for a carry gun. But we've talked about this before, and you know, Matt and Josh, you've both done videos on the Series 80. It's much ado about nothing. I have Series 70 guns right now that have far worse triggers. I have never had a Series 80 gun that had a bad trigger. I've had some that were better than others. But if you want to remove those 4 parts, you're not going to notice it. We talk about on our trigger pull with the take up on a 1911, and you reach the wall.
Mm-hmm.
So the Series 80 system is effectively defeated at that point. It's not affecting the trigger pull any longer. And I call it the GI zone. You know, most of us live in the GI zone with our trigger pulls.
Yep.
It's like a rifle with a 2-stage trigger. Once you get past the first stage of it and you're up against the wall, it takes very little, you know, to complete the process and fire the gun. So again, I don't recommend necessarily removing the parts, but my whole point in wanting to talk about this tonight was I've known a lot of people over the years, and I think maybe we all do, that they'll shy away from any Series 80 gun because it's Series 80.
Yep.
And I think you're passing up on some good guns, especially like, you know, Matt, your Mark IV Series 80, you know, fantastic guns. I have 3 of them myself. And
yeah, it's nice.
If it bothers you that much, you can take the parts out when you do a full detail strip, leave them out, put them in a little bag or something. I wouldn't carry the gun after that because, you know, it's again one of those liability things. Can you cite a court case where a prosecutor used that against somebody? I can't. But do you want to be the first one where it does get used against you? You know,
Yeah.
You use your gun in a self-defense situation, and then they find out that you've actually removed a safety device. I don't want to be that guy. But
Well, just to
don't pass up on a nice pistol because it's a Series 80. You can
No. Keep passing up on it. That way we can keep buying.
That's a good point.
You don't
That's
want
a very
Series
good point.
80. Series 80 sucks. Stay away from them.
send
Forget
Matt all the
everything I
links.
We'll go buy them all.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm delirious right now.
Yeah.
Forget everything I just said.
No, that's a great point, man. Like I get people, and you can tell what they're doing is they're parroting what they've heard in the gun shops their whole lives.
Yeah.
And it's not based on anything other than some ding dong with an apron's opinion. And they'll say things like, "I want a good trigger. Stay away from Series 80." I'm like,
Yep.
tell me you don't know what you're talking about without telling me. Because, yeah, like Mark, what you were saying, the safety system is defeated in the take-up. Once you get past that, like, I mean, look, I shot, God, probably 350 rounds through my 1991 so far. At no point, for not a single round, was I going, man, this Series 80 system is just really in the way. Like, no, you live at the wall. You break, you reset. You break, and it's this tiny little, it's like a 3mm zone. Everything outside of that literally doesn't matter. Right? So it's
I have had some Series 80 Colt triggers that just absolutely sucked. But
Yeah.
with that being said, I've had Series 70 ones that suck too.
Right.
Gritty, you know, you can feel the machining marks in them, and you're like,
yeah.
bang, and you're like, ah. So I've had both. But, you know, I did that video where I think I came from, like you're saying, used to hang out. Old guys remember this stuff. I think it was 2 things. One, a lot of the older guys were pissed off that they felt Colt was bowing to the lawyers, similar to like the Hillary hole. We don't need this. Why do you need this? Bowing to the dang lawyers again, and that kind of stuff. And then 2, in the circles I used to run in, like you were saying, in the gun shops in the mid to late 90s and stuff, there was bullseye leagues. Bullseye was very popular, and you would not catch a single bullseye guy alive would touch a Series 80 because they all had these finely tuned, built, 1911 bullseye guns. Matter of fact, my buddy still got one built by Jim Clark. Kay Mitchell, Jerry Mitchell's wife's father. Jim Clark built that gun. It's in 38 special. Yes, gents, there are 1911s that are built in 38 special. It's a 38 special wad cutter 1911 built for bullseye by Jim Clark. And it is a Series 70. Nobody would touch those. They were like, they would all tell me, and that's how again, we're talking before the internet.
Mhm.
So where did you get your info? You got it from your grandfather, you
Yep.
got it from your neighbor, you got it from your buddies at the gun range and at the gun counter. And they'd be like, oh, stay Series 80 sucks, Series
Yeah.
80 sucks, stay away from Series 80. And so that's where it came from. In my belief, that's where it came from.
And
And also, I think, go ahead.
well, I was just going to say, and where it's perpetuated and where it still lives to this day is like American Rifleman magazine.
Yep.
You
And
have
Red
these,
Oak.
yeah, you have these magazine
Yeah.
writers who they are
Yeah.
stuck in 1972 and they don't
Mhm.
realize that like things have changed. I understand back then a lot of these things when they were novel, they probably did suck, right? And to your point, yes, I have had some Series 80 systems. The worst one ever was Taurus. That gun,
Well.
it felt like the take-up was like shuffling your feet through Legos. I don't know how else to describe it.
That's a good example.
It was just like there's things in the way. There's
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
It feels bad. And of course the break. It just I don't know. It was strange. It just felt like you were breaking through cheese. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah,
yeah, it's
But let's also not forget that. Okay, let's go back to the beginning, right? All the way up until the 1911 when it was accepted. It's a military handgun.
Mhm.
Okay, it was a military combat handgun, and to my understanding, maybe Mark, they still continue this when you were in. You carried that gun condition 3 in a holster,
Yeah.
magazine full of ammunition, chamber empty, hammer down on an empty chamber. That's how you carried it. If you needed to use it, you unholstered it, you chambered around, you used it. If you did not use all the magazine and you were trying to run away or riding on a horse, because remember, this gun was heavily influenced by the cavalry board,
yes,
and the horsemen were the ones that added the grip safety. You would put the thumb safety on and you'd reholster it while you're riding a horse.
Yep.
You know, and then if you had a chance and the combat died down, you were no longer, you unload it, put it back, you know. So they carried them conditioned. So there was absolutely no chance that it was going to go off if it was dropped because there was no round in the chamber. But then when Jeff Cooper and the rest of them, hey, we're carrying cocked and locked here and all that other kind of stuff. And then you had Colt bow to the lawyers, like a lot of the older guys said. And then the bullseye was very popular in the 80s and 90s, or even prior to that. So I think that's what kind of perpetuated all this myth, which, you know,
yep,
Yeah.
me personally, for a carry gun, I would just have that little bit of extra insurance.
it doesn't
Knowing
hurt.
what I know now, being older, it don't hurt. It
Yeah.
does not hurt at all. It can only help.
Yep,
Yeah, that the point about the bullseye guns is a great point because you know, you had people tuning guns with 1.5, 2.5 pound triggers.
Yes.
And that would be hard to tune that out of a Series 80 to get a trigger like that. I agree, but that's a gun that you're not going to be carrying.
Oh, absolutely.
That's
100%.
strictly a competition gun.
Yeah.
And I have a story to relate. This happened 30 plus years ago, but an acquaintance asked me to look at his 1911 brand new one. And when he got it, you know, he's just doing basic checks on it. Didn't know the gun very well. Wasn't a military guy. So, you know, new to the whole platform. And he started getting hammer follow. You know, he hadn't even fired it yet, but after just dry firing it, all of a sudden he'd rack the slide and the hammer would drop, or he'd lock it open and drop the slide and the hammer would. So he asked me to take a look at it, and I took it apart. The left leaf of the leaf spring of the sear spring had broken.
oh
Now,
boy,
we all know what that does. That's what puts pressure on the sear to tilt the sear back into engagement with the hammer hook.
Yep.
Now, if the first time that gun had done that, if he had had it loaded and dropped the slide, it would have slam fired, or at least it had the opportunity, the possibility to do that. With a Series 80 system, not so much.
yeah,
So it would have prevented an accidental discharge based upon a mechanical problem with
Yeah.
the gun. So I actually still have that sear spring with the broken leaf off, but the gun was working normally. Fortunately, he had never loaded it and never taken it out to fire it yet when it started malfunctioning. So it just was not putting pressure on the sear to tilt it back into the hammer hooks.
It was a Colt
It was an auto ordnance.
auto order. Oh God. Yeah.
That makes
I
sense.
had one of those. Yeah. I had one of those.
that scans.
Yeah.
That gun had another problem also when I took it apart. It was missing half of the half cock notch on the hammer.
Oh man,
It was gone. And now here's the thing with it. This is the quality of those back in the day. Where that part was missing and chipped off or broken off, it was Parkerized. So they Parkerized a defective hammer and then installed it in the gun because it would have had a clean break where you'd have been able
Right.
that broken area, that chip would not have been Parkerized, obviously, and there was no
Man.
part in the gun. So that was their quality control back in the day.
That's brutal.
Anyway,
Good
the
Lord.
point of that story is that a Series 80 system, I've never heard of it happening, but it could prevent something like that if you had the hammer actually come loose from the sear and
Yeah.
drop.
Yeah. That could.
Yeah. So that was one thing I wanted to relate, that I've never heard of that happening on an actual gun that's being fired, but this was on one that was about to be brand new gun. So
Yeah. It's a real thing. It reminded me of that. There's this video of this like Middle Eastern dude at a range, and something's like I think somebody's was messing with him, but like he's got, I think it's like a Beretta 92, and one trigger pull gets you the whole mag. and this dude wasn't ready, and it's in slow mo, and so he fires, and it goes chung 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 chung, and he's going chung 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 chung, and he's
As it's
screaming.
climbing up
Yeah.
and spraying the ceiling.
And he's
right?
got this look of terror on his face, which
Yeah, that
everybody
was-
else in the room, is diving for cover.
You know what's funny, Mark, is you're talking about that, and it reminded me too. I also used to hear back in the day from these older guys that were in the game at the gun shops that a lot of the, famous, I guess you would call, gunsmiths at the time refused to work on Series 80. So there was one problem.
I've heard that too.
You got to.
Yeah.
I've heard it. They said I will not. I don't even want to get into it because they could get them. I used to hear this. They could get them pretty darn close to a Series 70 or right on, but it took so much work, it wasn't worth it for them. So they just would refuse to work on them. So
Yeah,
that was
that-
one of the reasons that people, if they wanted a trigger job back in the day, again, pre-internet guys, you can't just go up and type and then send your stuff off. You had to know somebody that knew somebody that, or read it in American Rifleman, or saw it in Shotgun News,
Well, and
or
listen, like, even though I'm a little bit younger than you guys, the advent of the internet being what it was like when I was like 13. And so when I've been into guns my whole life. I used to, when my parents would go to Walmart or Publix, I'd go to the magazine section, and man,
American
like
Handgunner.
American Handgunner, Tactical Life, Reloader,
SWAT,
yes. I had a
Soldier
stack
of Fortune. all
yeah, man.
those.
I had all those
Yeah.
magazines and I read them. And
Yeah,
what was the
Guns
one?
and Ammo.
There was one magazine, and I still to this day love this section. It was like a little. It was basically like every magazine had 3 cases of self-defense, and there was 3 self-defense stories every magazine.
And
that's
they
the-
were all written by Masada Yub.
Yes.
with Rocco
Probably. And then he pulled out his Wilson
And then he
Combat
pulled-
1911, with his
Yep.
laser grips,
Yep,
crimson trace grips.
Oh yeah, the crimson.
And,
Yeah.
and then he dropped the slide on an empty chamber.
Yep.
That's
yep.
right. And then he disappeared into a shower of sparks. Let me.
Oh, no, but that's insane. The auto ordinance. You know what's insane? To get back to this, it reminded me my crazy brain here. TSOS is so awesome, and their pistols are priced so low that I remember paying 350 bones for an auto ordnance back in the mid 90s, the crappy auto ordnance, and now you can get TSOS for cheaper than that.
With the
Yeah.
dollar
That
being
is-
what it is.
With $1 being what it is. So I can understand if that's, that would lend some credence to them saying, we're mad about what you're selling our pistols for, if that's the case, because,
Yeah.
that's why I'm saying again, we'll say it again. And I know Josh has said this, and Mark, all you guys probably sign off to buy them now and
Yep.
stack them deep if you can.
I mean,
Yeah.
listen,
Buy them cheap and stack
Cheap
them.
and stack them deep. That's right.
I'm
Yeah.
seriously considering buying what would be my 4th ASF. Like, there's this picture, and I can't find it, but there's this guy, or it's like a GIF, and he pushes a button beside his bed, and like his bedside table, it's like this hydraulic thing slides out, and there's just a rack of GI 1911s.
That's
And I'm
all
like-
you need, man.
I'm like, oh, I could just all the same gun, right?
Yeah.
Let me jump over to the chat here. We
Yeah,
got a
yeah.
pile of them.
Yeah. that's how it is when I go to get out one of my Colt 1911s.
Yes.
Like, which one, you know? So
Oh man, that's the struggle every day. What watch are you
Mhm.
gonna wear, and what gun are you gonna carry?
the
That's
struggle
right.
is real.
The
Yes.
struggle is real.
Which you guys have been, people have been seeing the ratio
There you go.
watches on Instagram. Listen, y'all, Mark got me hooked on these. I bought one. It's a problem. I'm gonna buy so many of these. This is a real problem. They're so well made.
One
Alright.
here from Corey Mike is JSOC, MUSOC, Stakeout, or Garrison. That's tough.
What was the list again?
The
JSOC.
JSOC, MUSOC, Stakeout, or Springfield Garrison.
If it's the Mac,
I have that. Yeah,
if it's the Mac, I'm going with the Mac.
the JSOC. Yeah, it's the yeah.
Those guns
Yeah.
are. I mean, think about what that would cost you to build that a la carte yourself.
Yeah.
Versus what they're doing. I know it's not perfect, but man, from the if you want like a 90% of the way there clone, boy, that's hard to beat.
The MUSOC that they do looks just like the one that Alchemy does,
Mhm.
and it doesn't have what I think is the ugly Alchemy banner on the side,
Mhm.
which kind of
And
takes
it's
away
not.
from it
And it's
being the
not
clone.
10 grand.
Yeah, and the Mac one has the correct U.S. property marked frame. Alchemy doesn't even have that.
Well, not only
Yep.
that, I don't have any proof of this, but just because I'm like an autist about these things, I'm 90% sure that Alchemy is getting their frames and slides from Arms Core.
That's disgusting.
It's putrid. And the reason I say that is because look at the ejection ports. Personally, I don't think Alchemy's cutting those themselves. I think they show up like that, and maybe they profile and do their fancy little things. But Arms Core is famous for having ejection ports that you could fly a 747 under the barrel.
Oh my god.
And,
Oh
like,
yeah.
You
Yeah.
can literally see the link through the top of the gun,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And I just can't.
Which ingress of dirt. Dirt.
Yes.
So maybe John Moses Browning nailed it the first time when it was way up there. I'm just saying.
to
We were
to quote,
Josh and I
No,
were
I
talking
have
about
the
this the
J-
other day.
I have the JSOC and I paid like 900 bones for it. And
Yeah.
mine was a limited edition one of 500 that came with a matching serialized knife and lighter and all this kind of
Nice.
stuff. And it was only $900. And that pistol, I'm telling you, that pistol is just fantastic.
they-
I think
Especially
one's
for
gonna be
that
my
money.
next one.
It's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane. You can get the regular ones, the non-limited edition ones, for even cheaper than that. It's insane.
I don't have any 1911s with the Bomar style sight. And I think the Bomar with the brass bead that gun comes with,
Yeah,
I
that's
think that's
awesome.
a
Yeah.
sweet setup.
And they moved it a little bit forward,
Yes.
just like the TRP,
Yes.
because apparently they were breaking them off in holsters or something like that.
Ooh, I didn't know that.
So
It also just doesn't. The side view, the profile, when the sight's hanging off like that,
mhm.
it gives me eye cancer. So I
Yes.
need
Yep.
that rear
Yes.
sight
Yes.
to be in line with the back of the slide.
Yes. Well, again, they were sending these guns off like they were built on Caspians. This
Yep.
is what I've read with Larry Vickers stuff and all that. They were being built on Caspians and random frames, sending off to random gunsmiths. So you get some that were hanging way off the back. You get them all over, and they figured out that with that big Bomar hanging out the back there, when they would pull them out, sometimes it would hit that rear sight and just break it right off.
Yep.
So if they moved it,
Yeah.
3/16 of an inch forward or a quarter inch forward, it eliminated that. And I think it looks better too. I think you're right. It just looks
yeah,
fantastic.
Even
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
it's
my
basically-
understanding that the JSOC ones, the Delta ones, were, like you said, kind of like random one-off gunsmiths.
Yep.
And the ones that MUSOC were doing, they were built by the rifle team at Quantico.
That's right.
So they
Yes,
were
yes.
they were a little bit more patterned, I
Yes.
should say.
Mhm.
Something.
Yep. So this is a good question here. This is from Brian Custom Canvas 1911. Hi everyone, I'm new to the channel. I'm in a dilemma on choice. Oh, okay, you just read that one. I was homeschooled. B Howard.
That's a brag nowadays.
It is. I'm happy with that. Listen, I did like 3 weeks worth of schoolwork in like a day, and then just
Killed.
yeah,
Skated.
I was out causing trouble.
Yeah.
I'll never forget. This is just a random story that just popped in my head. There was one day, me and my brother were running around, And this is back when you could stay out till the sun went down and you weren't gonna go to Epstein Island.
Yeah.
You know, you could just be a kid and all that. But wow, when I said that, our viewers dumped 20 people. That was, yeah, we went out and we were just always making like stuff, destructive things. And we whittled a spear out of a stick, and we're out there in like this tall bahia grass in this field, and there's a crow. And I just, yeah. And dude, I killed that crow. And I went up to it, and I was like, "Oh, this is so awesome!" Then I got up to it, and I was like, "Oh!" Like it was too much. And we just ran away crying. We were like, "Ah!"
That's funny.
Let's see. Let me get into some other chats here.
Here's a good one I'd like to read.
Please.
B. Howard 9378. Do you guys have any advice about shooting a 1911 accurately? I'm a good shot with pretty much everything but a 1911. I literally missed the entire paper and have no idea where the rounds are going. Since we're all 1911 shooters, maybe we can offer some advice on that. So
Yeah, this is
My first instinct would be flinching.
yeah.
Yes. So here's the deal with 1911s. Pivoting triggers are very forgiving. They give you a lot of room, because you get this long take up, and then you got kind of a big blocky wall, and that can hide a lot of people's problems, right, with their triggers and their anticipations and all that good stuff. 1911s are very unforgiving. They're extremely precise. You have an incredibly small amount of take up, and then you have this nice crispy wall, and you don't get the same tactile here it comes sensation mentally as you do with a swinging trigger. It's like wall, boom, and it goes. And so what I would recommend is, first of all, get yourself some snap caps, because people say, oh, it's not going to hurt your gun to dry fire. If you dry fire properly, which is literally like 1,000 times a day, it will hurt your gun. Absolutely. You will pop firing pins like crazy. Ask me how I know. Dry fire is going to be your key, in my opinion. You know, put a little sticker on your wall, light switch, whatever you're going to do. However you hold the gun, whatever, punch out, and you want to get it to where that trigger breaks and that front sight is completely still. Do that over and over and over and over again. Build that into your psyche, and then go to the range. And there's a great drill you can do. This might have been a Vickers thing. Maybe it was a Travis Haley. But anyway, go out there to the range, dry fire, click, reload, come up, dry fire, click, okay? And you do that a couple times, then throw a real mag in there, boom, live fire. Then pull it out, unload completely, go back to dry fire. That right there, what you're going to notice, you're going to start to get really accurate with when you pepper in that one live fire bullet here and there, because you're training yourself to break with the front sight still. That's really important. And really be cognizant of, so like if this is the face of the trigger, what you don't want to do is with your finger pull like this, because what's happening is you're going to push it this way, right? If you put too much finger in there, you're going to pull it this way. It doesn't matter, because people say you got to use the pad. Doesn't matter. What matters is you finish flat where that trigger is going straight to the back. So really pay attention to how you're braking. If you notice, the front sight will tell you what you're doing wrong. If when you break the shot, the front sight is snapping to the right, that means you're pushing too much finger into there to the left. On the inverse, if you're pulling, that sight's going to snap the opposite direction when you break the shot. So, but again, my 2 cents, dry fire, and then when you go to the range, dry fire, mag, live fire, bang, go back to dry fire. It's in your fingers and it's in your head. That's the big one.
A great way to just kind of continue that same thing to kind of get rid of that flinch. If you can go to the range with a buddy, and same thing, bring snap caps and have your buddy load your magazines and hide some snap caps in there along with live rounds, so you don't know where they are, that will tell you real fast if you're flinching and how you're flinching.
Yes.
Yeah, because you'll see a lot of people bang, bang, and then they'll do
Yeah.
that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And you'll be like, yep. You know what they used to do back in the day? Maybe Mark remembers this. When I was in the Army and stuff too with Berettas, they'd take a dime and they'd put it on top of the barrel and they'd make you pull the trigger.
Yes.
And if you if you did it right, it would just sit there. And if you did it wrong, that dime would pop right off, and it would you'd know. They'd be like, nope, it's your trigger pull. It's all in this. It really is. How many times have you taken a new shooter out and they're like, man, my sights were lined up and I still didn't hit the target? And they're right. They lined their sights up and then they did one of these low left. They anticipated the recoil, or they heeled the gun up, or like you said, they so.
Well, here's another one. When I've taken people out, particularly new shooters, I took a friend out a couple months ago. He's never shot 1911s, and same thing. Like, he's not a bad shot, but man, his first few shots, it's like sand, poof, berm, poof, just like he's all over the place. And I said, okay, here's what I want you to do. You focus on grip and sights. That's all I want you to do. And I stuck my finger in there. I'm to his side, and I pulled the trigger for him, and it's dead flipping center. And I'm like, why is that? Right? Blame it on this thing.
Yep.
At the end of the day, it doesn't grip. None of that matters. Stance, that's all. It does not matter. The only thing that matters is sight picture, sight alignment, trigger control. Now, it helps for follow-up shots with grip. It helps. All that stuff's true. But when it comes to accuracy, the goal is, look, the gun mechanically is more accurate than all of us combined times a million.
Yes. Especially nowadays. They make them pretty much really
stupid accurate. So at the end of the day, your job is to align that pistol and then get that shot to break without moving. That is, it's that simple. And I would also be curious, come up with your own ways to understand and help. Like, don't look for how am I saying this? Be curious about what you're doing. Study what you're doing. Pay attention. Like, ask questions of yourself. Why am I holding it this way? What is this doing when I do this? So great question.
And you don't need to squeeze the crap out of it where your knuckles are turning white either. Don't do that.
Yes, that's true.
It should be like a firm handshake. That's it.
Dude, that's exactly what I tell people. Yeah, these people that teach to squeeze the gun till you're shaking, it's like you're I told one guy, I said, you're making me nervous because you're trying way too hard. Like, anyway, Mark, you were going to say something?
Two things. Mike had a good with recoil, and especially on a 45 1911, is I've taught so many people how to shoot. We probably all have instructed somebody, but people begin to anticipate that recoil. And one thing they'll do, and I'll demonstrate this way, is when they've got the gun gripped and they're ready to fire it, they kind of snatch the trigger and they pull down and to the left. And you'll notice a pattern. If they're even on paper, everything is down at like the 7 o'clock position.
Yep.
If they're even on paper. And a lot of that has to do because just they think the things that, they're at the break and they kind of snatch the trigger and pull it like that.
Yep.
And they'll shoot. If they can get it on paper, they might even have a nice group, but it's way down at like the 7 o'clock position on the target. But a lot of it has to do with recoil. You're anticipating it.
Yep.
And then right when you think it's going to happen, you kind of jerk the trigger. And when you do that, you also pull your hand down and to the left if you're a right-hand shooter.
Yep.
And a lefty will do just the opposite. You'll see the same thing.
Clockwork.
100%. And they're trying to fight against that recoil. Just let it happen. One thing I was taught back in the day, which they don't really talk about now, is the gun it should surprise you. That's what they used to tell me back in the day. Now, if you're combat shooting and you shoot millions of rounds, you just get used to it. But if you want to shoot very accurate and you're new shooter, you should not know when that gun's going to go off. Just slowly pull the trigger and bang, it should surprise you. Guaranteed you'll hit right where you're aiming.
It's like the old, breaking glass rod trigger, that they used to talk about, all the old timers talked about. But that's when, you don't want to know when it's going to go off. It actually surprises you, but not in a way that startles you.
Right.
But, you get up to that point on the wall, and when it lets go, again, the bullet is going to be long out of the barrel before there's any motion on the gun.
That's right.
Here's
you're
one more
doing
thing I want to
everything
say, and then
correctly.
and then I'll let Josh, because I
Yeah.
know he wants to read the thing before I forget, because I'll forget.
Go for it.
Don't ever forget that mastering, and it's something you're going to do for the rest of your life. Even these top pistol guys that go out, Jerry Mitchell said it best. If you want to be the best, you got to be the first on the range and the last one to leave. You cannot benefit unless you're out there shooting. You have
Yeah.
got to put thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of rounds, especially through a handgun. Shooting a rifle is a lot easier. Not to take anything away
It's
from
true.
it, but it's a lot easier. Than mastering a handgun is a very difficult. You can even call it an art form. It's very difficult, and I have known lots and lots of shooters. If they're a good handgun shot, typically they're a really good rifle shot. And the converse is not always true. I knew
Yes.
really good precision rifle shooters and stuff, and they get a handgun and they're like, "What am I doing?"
That's,
You know?
listen,
'Cause-
that's true.
Yeah.
Who was it? I know Colonel Jeff Cooper said any man who masters the handgun will own everything he sees with the rifle.
Yes.
And then you also see, I believe it was in Dalton Fury's book, he talked about how in the Delta screenings, I'm paraphrasing, so somebody's going to get super
Somebody's gonna
offended.
get
that I'm
butthurt.
gonna-
I
oh
know.
my God. He basically said, like, nobody cared what you did with a rifle in the shoot house. They want to see what you did with that 1911 because that's actually the real test. And you also see this. I heard one of these 900 Navy SEALs who has a podcast. They talked about that, how like the training budget in terms of just round count for pistol to ammo, pistols were like, and this is a crazy number, it was like 10,000 rounds were budgeted for a handgun, whereas like 2,000 were budgeted for a rifle, because it's just such a perishable skill. And it takes so much more input frequently. But I wanted to offer up one more thing, and this is for everybody. This is something all of us should do regularly, and it's the compressed time drill. And this is best to do with a friend, somebody who can really like be the metronome for you. And this is a great way to train your finger. So basically, in my opinion, the best trigger pulls are the ones that happen at one speed. Because what we do is we have our finger off the trigger, we come forward, we make contact, we have the take up, we stop, there's the wall, push, 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 maybe a little creep, break. If you had like a speedometer for every speed that your finger went in that whole process, it's like 9 miles an hour, 7 miles an hour, 2 miles an hour. Like there, and really what you want to do is imagine just a pendulum, one speed through. And there's a great drill that you can do where basically you got your light switch, you're across the room, right? And your buddy goes, okay, we're going to start with 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. What you want to do is just mentally pick a speed to where that shot's going to break, but you're not allowed to speed up or slow down. You pick one speed to pull through that trigger process and just bup, 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 boom. And what you're doing is getting this smoothness. And so you start at 7, and then you go to 5, 5, 4, 3, and you're speeding it up, right? And eventually you get to like 2, and it's like 2, 1, 2, 1.
Yep.
But see that smoothness and constancy, you're pulling out of your own head the hesitations and the what ifs and the oh no, here it comes, and I got to hold on to the pistol so they think I'm a real man, all that bull crap.
That's especially with double action revolvers.
Very much so.
Absolutely.
You don't want you want straight pull just like this all the way through every time, and you will master that double action trigger. Yeah,
I
that's a
just shot
difficult
my,
one to shoot too. Oof.
Yeah, I just shot my Smith & Wesson, what is it, the 642 air weight today. I put 50 rounds through that. That gun sucks to shoot, let me tell you. And it was the same thing. It's like I had to tell myself, compressed time drill. I'm giving myself 4 seconds. 4, 3, 2, pop. And I started getting good hits. And all right, we got a lot of chats to catch up on here.
Yeah,
So,
let's go.
and this is great, though. This is fantastic show we got going. Crack. If I typed what NFL stands for to me, Josh would lose his channel. Let's see, boy. I'm sorry. I'm skipping past a lot. I'm looking for questions. A lot of people are just talking, so I'm going to skip past those. let's see. Yeah, and here's the other thing as I'm scanning here. What we were just talking about learning good trigger discipline, you can apply that to any trigger. And you should be able to. In fact, I would recommend, there's a great book. It's called The Book of Five Rings by Miyamoto Musashi. Awesome samurai from back in the day. And basically this guy, it's an incredible story. Like, he got kicked out of his home at like 13 years old. And then he just went around and started slaughtering samurai and never lost. In fact, these samurai dojos got so pissed off at him because there's like this teenager going around killing guys one-on-one in sword duels. They sent a hit squad after him of 13 guys, and he killed all 13 of them by himself, by the way. This guy's just a bad dude, okay? He once fought another samurai, and all he had was an oar for a boat. And he killed that guy. He just whacked him on the head and freaking crushed his skull. And he wrote a book in his old age. He died of old age. And it's called The Book of Five Rings. And he talks about don't ever have a favorite weapon. He's like, everything. You should be a master of everything. And that's so true, man. If we get in this idea where it's like, well, I only shoot expensive 1911s. Well, guess what? If you're in a place where you can't have a gun and the gunfight breaks out and the ding-dong rent-a-cop at the door just took a dump, and now all you've got is some garbage, dirty, junk 38 Smith & Wesson revolver that's double action only because his G-rated agency won't let him carry anything else.
Yep.
You better know how to pick that gun up and run it at 35 yards really, really well. And so this idea that you can purchase your way into skill, mistake.
No. Yep.
Big mistake.
Can I say something on that too,
Yes,
Josh?
please.
And I think the rest of you will agree. You can't do better than a Smith & Wesson Model 10 to learn trigger discipline.
Oh my god. Yep.
That is a
Yeah,
fantastic
yeah.
training aid right there. That's all you need. That and a 1911, and you'll be proficient with any handgun.
Yep. The old Model 10. And you can
Model
pick them
10.
up cheap, the police trading ones.
Yeah, that one is I don't know if you guys can see it, but there's one on
Yeah.
the wall. I have that gun is a corrections gun from Rikers Island.
Nice.
Is it double action only?
No, you can do both, thankfully.
Yeah, good.
That's awesome. Yeah, for me, one of the hardest guns to get good with are just double action only guns. Like you guys remember the SIG P250?
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's so funny because back in the day, we're like, man, if they would just make this without this dumb trigger, they'd sell like hotcakes. Enter the
Well,
320.
2020. Which, by the way, side note, I think was Indiana Highway Patrol or one of them just accepted that as their gun.
You gotta be kidding, dude.
No,
Just now?
no, yeah, within the last couple of days, Ben Stager put some stuff out on it too, and I saw it online. They bought SIG P320s. Yep,
I think it was Indiana State Patrol. or
India
something.
State Patrol. Yeah, I think that's what it was. Yeah,
I don't understand.
That's a bold move.
bold move, Cotton. Let's see how that pans out for him.
I've
Yeah.
quoted that movie twice today.
So many people double the single action seems to DASA guns, handguns seem to really mess people up. I remember when I was in the Army with the Beretta, and a lot of people, they'd be like, well, you just dump the first round in the dirt and then you're single action. I'm like, oh my, what is wrong with you? Because they don't want, most people listen, if you're listening to this stream and you truly want to get better, you're going to go out there every chance you get that the weather's good or whatever, and you're going to live fire. Dry fire is awesome. You've got to dry fire,
Yes.
just like Josh said. But there's no substitute for live fire.
100%.
And you have to put thousands of rounds through a gun. And a lot of people, they don't want to take the time to learn that transition between double single because it's not intuitive. It is much easier just to have the same semi-good trigger from a Glock like this every time.
Yep.
Well,
You know,
that's why
so-
like the DAC triggers and the LEM triggers were so popular in law enforcement circles for so long.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just easier to train everybody on one trigger pull than two.
It's
Yeah.
a fact. That is a fact.
It
Yeah,
is.
the mentality, that to me, that mentality that you just talked about of like dump the first one and then you're good. That's the same as like, bro, if somebody breaks in your house, you shoot them with birdshot first. It's like, oh, when I hear
or
that
the worst
stuff,
one is all you gotta do is rack it.
Oh.
Everybody knows they're gonna run. Like
that makes
okay,
me want to
well.
shoot blood out of my eyes. Holy God. I just can't even. I can literally, somebody said that a few weeks ago. I had to walk out of the room. I'm like, I am going to end up on the news if I stay in this room. Oh, man. Paul Harrell, may he live forever.
Yes.
His video on that is fantastic, where he's like, he shows like, halt, and he racks a pistol. Halt, racks an AR. He's like, I tried that once. It didn't work, and then I had to kill somebody.
You guys might have seen it, but it was a really early video that he did, and it's called 1911's Don't Suck.
Yes, by James
Search
Yeager.
for that and watch it, because he shoots a whole variety of them. Most are 45s, and they're,
Yep.
I think he's got one that's in Colt Royal Blue, and he shoots a 38 Super. And after every one of them, he goes, and it doesn't suck,
It doesn't suck.
Well, it was in response to James Yeager, who, listen, I actually liked James Yeager for a lot of different reasons. You need those guys like that. They're like firebrands, lightning rods, who just make a mess. I think they're
They
actually
have spicy takes.
Yeah, I think they're good
Yeah.
for us. And I understood James, but see, he's a. You guys know who Rush is, right? You know Neil Peart. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm a play drums. It's one of the instruments I play. Neil Peart is a wizard. He's a professor. That's what drummers call him, the professor. He's so technical and exact, right? And then you have like Gonzo, the Muppet, who he just knows how to go, bah!
He bashes.
He's
Yeah.
a basher. And no offense, but James Yeager's the Gonzo of the gun world, right? Like he's not a technical professor.
And you
guy.
need both.
You do. And that's not an
need both,
insult
yeah.
to him.
No.
Because sometimes the professors get crippled and don't want to push the limits, right? Like James Yeager, in my opinion, was responsible for Glock changing their guide rods to a metal guide rod because he did a burn down test and melted the guide rod in his Gen 3, right? But see, when he came out with this video saying 1911 suck, it was completely from a place of ignorance, and from, there's other YouTubers out there who've made similar videos.
Who shall remain nameless?
I'm not saying anything. Who it's like, yeah, they're trigger mashers, and they don't understand. Like, no, this is a thinking man's pistol. You can't do that.
Again, you and I have talked about it. It's like it's the Jedi's lightsaber. It's not just a blaster. Like that.
So
Han Solo
uncivilized.
has. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see here. Great question here from Scratch Guns. Do I have any experience with Smith & Wesson 1911s? I've worked on 2 of them for people, and okay, let's take a poll. Who wants to guess what the issue was on both of those guns?
Extractor.
Bingo!
The external extractor.
Both of them. Yeah. One of them, the tiny little tip of the hook on the extractor was just sheared right off, and the other one, it just needed a new spring. But that's my only criticism. Well, the other criticism is they do the Ruger thing. They plaster the pistol with too much stuff.
Oh yeah, signs and warning. It'll shoot without mag,
Yeah.
and I don't like when companies do that either. I agree with you.
It's gaudy.
Yeah.
But I will tell you,
Danger Will Robinson,
yeah. I mean, it's the same as like, McDonald's. Do you really need to tell us the coffee is hot? Like, come on.
Yeah.
I also
Smith-
I don't think you
Huh?
get like a really good, like they all hover like the E series. I mean, they're hovering well over $1,000. They're like $1,200 gun.
Yeah, in that
Ugh.
range, it's like I'm going TRP before that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going
Absolutely.
like you can get a pretty banging Kimber. You can get Dan Wesson's.
Yeah, I was about to say, if you want to go a couple of more, you can get Dan Wesson are fantastic 1911s. I think Dan Wesson slept on. Like, for what you pay for those, you get a fantastic gun. You
Yeah.
really do.
For me, if you're going much above 1,400, jump up to a Dan Wesson Valor and call it
Yep.
quits right there.
Yep.
There you go.
Yes.
I've never owned one. you know, I had a buddy who he just bought guns like fish go through water, man. Like he just, and he would always be like, I'll just borrow this one for a few weeks. And at the time, I was, you know, I lived on a property where I could literally shoot out my front door, like butt naked, like there's just middle of nowhere, you know, and may or may not have done that. But, you know, I ran one of those, and yeah, like now it was cool because I got to compare it to my trusty TRP. And, you know, I'll say they were really close. In hindsight, though, looking back, the big selling point that I think Dan Wesson, or is that who it was? Dan Wesson?
Mhm.
Yeah. Is no MIM. So I think that's a big selling point. Also, you do have just much more careful, purposeful hand fitting.
Yes.
But overall, to answer your question, Smith & Wesson's 1911s, look, if they just tickle your fancy, it's fine. If it were me, though, I would treat that gun the way I would treat the Springfield SA-35 if I bought another one. Not a bad gun. Trust them, carry them, no problem. But I would have a couple cylinder and slide extractors on hand, and I would know how to change them. Because you're going to eat extractors on that design. You're going to eat them. This is a great question. Let's see. Budget bullseye gun from Texas Pete. He's asking. Before we go to that one though, this is a good thing to bring up. Try to burn mine. That's a great name. Try to burn mine said, can't wait for the cartridge boxes. How do I order? So if you look over my shoulder, the first 25 orders are almost ready. So just to touch on that briefly, the reason they're delayed in releasing is I want them to be right. I am not going to rush out something, especially for what I'm asking for them. Look, it's a handmade product. I'm asking a bit of a premium, but I want them to be really special, well made. I want you to open that box and be like, somebody really cared about this. And so I'm doing this with a buddy of mine, and we're making some really nice wood inserts. So these boxes are primo. They're really beautiful. So we're actually getting together tomorrow to assemble the first 25 orders with these inserts. And then we're going to have, now these first 25 are going to be for Patreons first. They get first dibs. And a few of those guys, they're already earmarked for just because I love them and I get to do what I want. So,
That's right.
But the next 25 will be available for the YouTube audience. And now these first 25, they're very special. They got handwritten letters on old school parchment with a crimson wax seal with my logo and stuff. Like they're really beautiful. The next 25 that will be available for the YouTube audience, we're going to have, well, there will be something special in there. So anyway, yeah, and basically also what's going on is we're trying to scale up to make a lot of them because I have more than 300 people that want these right now. And if I continued making them the way I did when I started, it takes an hour to make one box. So we're talking 2 boxes an order. That's so much time that I don't have. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there. Soon, I'm thinking next week we will have some orders ready to go. Yeah, more to come on that. And there's more boxes we're working on. We got like 3 other designs we're working on tooling up for. So I'm excited for you guys. And not just ammo boxes, like other cool stuff that nobody else is doing. So I'm really excited about that. Texas Pete asked, what's a good budget bullseye gun? That's a good question.
Gold Cup national match. You can get them for about $1,200 for a bullseye gun. I mean,
you know what? And I got to say, my most accurate 1911 is my very troublesome Colt Mark IV. But that national match barrel in there, far and above the most accurate gun that I own. It's not even close. Like I'm working on a video. It's very difficult to put together because I'm doing a lot of detail. But basically, I'm shooting like 6 1911s next to each other, at 25 yards rested. And let me just tell you guys, here's like, I'm going to spoil the video. That Mark IV blows everything out of the water, and it's not even close. I mean, we're talking like a group like this versus a group like this. It's nuts how accurate that gun is. And that's with my hand loads.
Yeah. Yeah. If you want, I mean, a bullseye oriented, it comes with adjustable rear, like Bomar style sights.
Yep.
It's got the target front sight. It's got metal mainspring housing, nice grips on it, all that kind of, yeah. It's geared kind of towards that.
There, yeah.
And they're blued pretty nice.
And they're blue. Yeah, very nice.
Now,
Yep.
especially if you, man, some of the old school, and they're expensive, and they're rare when they pop up, but like the 1930s through the 1960s, those Colt, like old school competition guns, there's nothing like those, man.
Question from Nashcraft Firearms.
Yeah.
Favorite camo? And then he followed it up with he has an M16 A4 clone on the wall. He has to have an opinion. Objectively, the coolest camo is Rhodesian brushstroke camo.
I was
Baby
gonna,
poop.
I was going to say Rhodesian,
Yep.
Flecktarn, and M81. Just
Yes.
Top 3 easy.
Yeah. In fact, if I've got to pick one, I think just because I'm American as crap, M81 has got to be, the one. Okay, good question. Yeah, Texas Pete says you can get the to the elite ranks of bullseye competition with a Ruger Mark 22. Listen, that Mark, what's the Ruger that has like the 1911 grip? But
Mark IV.
Yeah.
The
Man,
45, yeah.
Those are
Yeah.
fun. Those are really fun.
And you can get those with a threaded barrel.
Mhm.
Yeah, which is comically quiet. Pete's here. 45 ACP says HK45C double action sucks. It blows goats.
Sure
It
does.
is absolutely terrible. But it
That
makes
USP
up,
is just as bad.
yeah.
Yeah.
But that, man, the single action on those is, God, and that's why I love that that fire control group, because basically you can carry it cocked and locked.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Yeah. You got a lot of options.
Yep.
Well, Mike mentioned the LEM trigger. I got a P30L with the LEM trigger, and that thing is fantastic. I love
like
that
it?
thing. I love it. I love it.
Let's see. JRK says, when I had a USP, I don't think I shot it double action. You're not missing much, bro.
No. Single action, it's a cock and locked in a USB.
You got to
Correct
power
move.
through it. Stop being a Mitch and just power through that
Yep.
stuff, okay? Yeah.
Yeah, literally. And I'm not even joking. Like my Beretta 92, I taught myself how to shoot, because that's actually a pretty good double action trigger on the
It
92.
is. It really is.
And basically, literally, this is how fast I pull that double action. Like,
You just gotta
as fast and hard as you can. And listen, it's actually surprising how accurate you can get.
I used to shoot magazine after magazine out of my SIG P220 by decocking it after the first shot. So every shot was the double action.
Yeah.
And you can get surprisingly good that way.
Yep. Okay, so I've got some corrections here. I deserve this. They said it's Animal, not Gonzo. Now listen, I'm a
Right,
grown
okay,
man,
okay.
so I feel good that I got that wrong. Now I say I'm a grown man, but there's literally like 40 Star Wars action figures above me, so I'm not ashamed. Know your crap. It says crap it. God, I just totally butchered that. Crack says, know your Muppets.
No, your Muppets. Wait, wasn't there a drummer? Wait, wasn't John Bonham's nickname Gonzo? Is that maybe?
Maybe that's what I did.
I think
Yeah.
John Bonham's nickname was Gonzo.
Yeah, probably.
And-
I think
yeah.
you're right. Carson Branham says this is way better than the Luciferian Pooper Bowl. I think so.
Oh,
Well, the NFL YouTube channel They started doing this thing years ago, and I think it's great. They basically give you a short 10 or 15 minute replay of all the things you wanted to see in the game anyway. No commercials, no in between plays. I love that. So I'll just go and like rewatch games or Super Bowls, and it's just like a quick 15-minute, like, okay, I know what happened. Cool game, you know.
Here's one here.
Go ahead.
Something
Please.
we've covered before.
Yep.
Carson Branham. Any word on magazine preference for flawless function?
Take it.
Quick research.
I mean, look,
We did a whole live stream on this, or a good part of one. So.
yeah, you guys should go look at that live stream. That was really fun, and I felt like it was informative. But for me, it's Checkmate, Colt, Kimber, Springfield, and isn't it Ed Brown that's made the same place?
Ed Brown, yeah.
So those 5, they're all the same magazine, functionally. The Colts have a little bit different follower, but essentially they're made at the same factory. They're the same magazine. I kind of lean, if I had to pick one, I've had the best luck with Kimbers and Springfields, mostly because of the follower. I think their follower is correct. But 7 rounders, don't try to church it up with your 8 rounds. Get out of here with that. Just, man, 7 rounders. And look, that the reason for that, I've explained this before, we all have, but in order to fit those 8 rounds, you got to change the spring design. And so when the mag's loaded, no problem, lots of tension. You get to those last 2 rounds, you don't have the same tension, the timing's messed up. Eventually, and a lot quicker, those springs are going to wear out and they're not going to feed as good.
Yep, especially as they age, yeah.
Very
But if you
key.
want a modern single stack 1911 magazine, they're kind of expensive, but the Trip Research Cobra mags
True.
work really good. They're about $50 a piece last time I checked. So they're expensive, but they work.
Yeah, man, I've been using the Springfield's kind of my go-to because you can usually find them on Midway for like $14 a piece. And man, I have the first 1911 I ever got was a Springfield GI back when they were making those. And I still have the original 2 magazines from that gun. Just last year, I changed the springs on those. They've spent the past like 15 years rocking and rolling. Like, I couldn't tell you how many times I've shot those mags. Just changed the springs. They're back in the rotation. Like, phenomenal.
Yeah, for the GI style, I like the Springfield ones are great. And then I got a pile of Wilson Combat ones too.
Yeah, the Colt ones are good too. I haven't
Colts are
had any
good,
problem with Colts really.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a hater on the Wilson mags, just because I've broken a pile of them. The plastic is just a problem.
The base plate, yeah.
Yeah, well, not even the base plate. Like if you take out the follower, it's got like the back part, the top, and then the front. And there's a weak point at those corners. It wants to fold in. And I've had it happen where that front piece bent inward, and so the whole follower fed up into the freaking barrel of my pistol. It just came out, just disassembled itself. It was to get that out, I just literally, I had to pull the base plate off, grab the lip with some pliers and rip it out, and the spring bent all weird. And
Dang.
Yeah, that would sour my taste too.
Yeah, I live in 2 extremes with Wilson Combat. I absolutely preach that their springs are, them and Wolf, they're the best. They're the best springs out there. But there's just so much propaganda from Wilson about their other stuff. And he's a business. It's fine. He's trying to sell stuff, but I just don't believe that. And like, I call them diapers, shock buffs. People think they're magic, and they have their use. When you get a gun that's built extremely poorly, ask me how I know.
Speaking of magazines, can we go way back real quick? Because I just remembered this. A lot of people have given me crap when I complain about Colt only giving 1 magazine.
Yeah.
Like, come on, bro. You got 40 1911 magazines. That's not the point. It's not.
They don't
for
know
me.
I have 40.
They don't know, but not even that. It's not for me. I'm talking about the person that goes out and buys their first gun.
Yep.
You give them one magazine, and that magazine is faulty. Now you got a paperweight. I've seen it before. I've seen guns come with two magazines. One's bad and one's good. If you give them two magazines, they got a better chance. If one fails, they got the backup until they can go buy another one, or until you send them another one,
Yep.
or whatever. If you send the one magazine and it's faulty, what good is that? I mean, your gun's a paperweight at that point. That's the reason I have problems with it.
Yes.
That's a great point, because they're automatically going to assume that it's the gun that's faulty and not the magazine.
Yep. And
You know,
I
that
will say,
$1,000, $1,500 Colt's a piece of junk.
Yep.
When it's a $20 magazine,
Yep.
and they can't compare it because they only have one.
That is the most important thing, in my opinion, in a semi-automatic handgun, is the magazine, or a semi-automatic firearm in general. But
oh,
it's the magazine.
it's
You've
so
got.
important.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's 99% of the time that's the issue.
Yep.
You know what really helps us understand that is when you look at the history of how much hell people went through trying to figure out magazines.
Yes.
Like, man, in the early 1900s, that was the problem with semi-autos.
Yep.
Like, they figured out blowback, no problem. They figured out springs, and okay, cool. How do we make it work? Like,
Yeah.
That's why they had internal mags fixed internal mags for so long.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
Yep.
making, 1,000,000 magazines and 2 million pairs of feed lips is way harder than just making one and using stripper clips.
literally, yeah, man. That's the story of the Steyr Hahn.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, screw the magazines. We got stripper clips,
Yeah. Yep.
Which
Yep.
I love the Steyr Hahn. I want
Which
one.
again highlights John Moses Browning's genius, because if you think about it, right, the Glock, people are like Glock over 1911. Glock would never exist without 1911. It uses the Browning short action recoils. He even said himself, he figured out striker fire to make it safe.
Yep.
He figured out striker fired handguns to make them safe. That was him. All right. The slide, think about this for a second.
Yeah.
Your slide that is on every modern semi-automatic pistol, John Browning invented. There were no slides. The Luger came out before. It doesn't have a slide. It has a toggle lock action.
Yep.
The actual physical slide that we all come to see, John Browning.
Yep.
I mean,
And the finest trigger that's ever been. That nobody. It's so funny, man. When the what was it? I know it's the Daniel Defense H9 now, but what was it before that?
Oh, the Hudson.
the Hudson
The
H9.
Hudson. It's a cool idea. It's fun.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's one thing it wanted to be. It just wanted to be a 1911. They wanted the trigger they wanted it to not be a 1911.
Yeah, a striker
like-
fired 1911.
Yeah, it's like, dude, get out of here with that. Like,
That's a great point, actually. If you watch, Forgotten Weapons has a video on the development of the Hudson H9,
Mhm.
and the original prototypes look just like 1911.
well,
Yep.
I mean, that's what they did. They were like, okay, how do we make this as awesome as a 1911, but avoid being accused of it being a 1911?
Yeah.
You know? Look, I'm just of the mind. There's some things, like, okay, there's a few of them. Tube amps, right? Guitar tube amps. They're still used today. They've been around for 1 billion years. Okay. The Modus machine guns. We're still using those. Okay, those things are about as old as 1911s. We're still using
Yes. Yep.
those. You know, like internal combustion engines. We just have to shake hands with the fact that some people were geniuses, and I believe God put things in their brain to make humanity better, and they just nailed it. And those things are never going to go away. And I think all the things we're talking about, the 1911 being chief of those, I'm telling you, people want so bad for it to die and go away.
You and I talked about this, Josh.
Yeah.
The charging handle. The
Yes.
charging handle on an AK or any rifle that has a side charging handle, John Browning, which is
Yes.
why the 1907 Winchester
Yep.
could not get around his
The
patent
plunger,
of-
yep.
That's right, the plunger. And what was the shotgun with the Widowmaker that you'd pull the barrel?
Yes. The
1911 Winchester.
There you go.
There it
They
is.
couldn't get around his patents for the charging handle. The small little things that we use that we see all over guns has John Moses Browning's DNA all over it,
Yep.
all over it. And people will dare to shit on his design like he wasn't a genius. I mean, guys, you don't understand the significance of a 1911 going 6 1,000 rounds without a malfunction in 1909,
Which, by the
1910.
way, no relubing, just freaking water. Like, dunk, let's keep going.
Let's keep going.
John Browning has invented more like categories of firearms
Yeah.
than most other designers have firearms, period.
Yeah,
Yes.
my Glock, you know. And I love Glocks. We all love Glocks. I'm sure we all own them, you know. But just let's not. You stand on the shoulders of giants. Let's not shit on the reason the Glock is here.
Yep.
Because Gaston Glock was not a firearms engineer. He didn't invent the damn thing. He didn't even invent the polymer gun. It was HK that used the first for production handgun with polymer.
Yep.
So, but he hit that niche. He did what he did, and all the best. I mean, they're infamous, but let's not crap on what happened before that got him to that point.
Well, and on top of that, man, like, it is kind of funny though. There's some John Moses Browning designs that they're good.
Yeah.
Hear me out. They're good, but it seemed like he had that genius part sometimes where it was probably simple to him, but they're actually kind of complicated.
Yes.
Namely, the Colt 1903. Can I just tell you, I have never been more angry reassembling a pistol than with the 1903. And I'm not talking field strip. I'm talking like, man, between like the Type 1 and the Type 4, the sear flips like 3 times in their designs. It's got, if anybody's ever taken those apart, they got these hooks. And on like, I want to say the Type 1, the hooks are on top. But then on like the Type 4 or 3, now they're on the bottom. And here's the bad part. It'll go in both ways, and you don't know it's wrong until you try to fire the gun. And man, that, and same thing with like the 1892, the lever action. Love it. But anybody who's taken those apart knows there's this balancing act where you have to like, oh my gosh, that one little screw to get it in there in the bolt, and it's like, yeah, man, that some of his designs were, I think, complicated. And even like the Modus, I know guys who worked on those in the military, and they're like, why is there so many parts in here? But
because it was invented over 100 years ago.
Yeah,
I heard in the modern ones, I don't know if this is true, maybe somebody knows, but when I was in the military, we would keep them separate. So you'd have the receiver and then you'd have the barrel, because the barrel itself was like 50 pounds or whatever. And you'd have to put them together, and you have to set headspace and timing. You have to ratchet it on. You had gauges. You have to set the headspace and timing on a Modus. Somebody said the modern FN ones, you don't have to do that anymore. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if they redesigned that a little bit. Yeah. But you're talking about, he did that stuff 130 years ago. He was doing all that kind of stuff. Dude. And it's insane what he came up with back then. And let's not forget, Winchester, was it Winchester? I think it was Winchester, bought a ton of his designs and never released them, just shelved them.
Yeah, listen, if you just go look at, I want to say it was like 20 years, John Moses Browning every 6 months was just like wheelbarrows of gun designs to Winchester.
Yep.
And so many, and it was like they come back in a few months and be like, okay, that's a cool gun, but now we want to do this, and he's like, boom, there you go, done. And then they're still around. They're still around.
Yes.
Yeah, man. I just, and by the way, Mike and I have talked about this. I think I would like to do a stream about it. One of his last pieces was the high power.
Yep.
And just me saying that is going to cause some freaking
meltdown.
Oh my Lord! Somebody's going to have to go take their
People are going,
Pril.
They're banging on the keyboard right now.
Oh man, yeah, I can already see it.
Yeah.
So I bought a couple books about this, and Mike and I were talking about this. People don't want to give him credit. They think that Sive did the whole pistol, and it's like, y'all, I don't know where you're getting that from. That is a Browning pistol through and through. He gets credit for the mag, absolutely, and he gets credit for finishing it. But it's John Moses Browning on the patent documents, first of all. So he started the pistol unequivocally. That's a fact. FN has also got that in their documentation. John Moses Browning's son went and got his dad's notes when he died, and that's come out. Sive in interviews post has credited John Moses Browning for being his mentor and the inventor of the high power. And then on top of that, to finish the pistol and make it marketable, they waited for the 1911 patents to run out and then went and snatched a bunch of crap off the 1911, put it on the high power. And so I'm going, dude, this thing's dripping in JMB. And there's people like, he didn't do it. Like,
Yeah, I know.
I don't get it. I do not get that. All right, so we'll.
You'd think there's like a big like Scythe following out there. The way people are so ravenous about it, it's like most people who aren't the kinds of people who don't want to give John Browning the credit for that gun probably don't also know all of the guns that Scythe did. So it's like. It's not like we're trying to take away from him. The guy was brilliant. He did a bunch of other cool stuff.
Like
Haters.
He's got a pile. Didn't he do the FAL?
He did. Yeah.
Right. So listen, that's up there for me with like, that's like another AK. It's the Rifle of the Revolution. They're everywhere. They're fantastic.
Right on the free world.
The symbol. Yeah. The symbol of the Cold War, basically. I mean, one of the most influential rifles of the 21st century. Or the 20th century, rather.
They're fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, I think his first in-house gun that he did on his own was the FN 49.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then of course the FN FAL.
Yep. All right, so we'll go through a few more super chats here, and then we will close this stream out. Thank you everyone for being here. We did creep up. We got to 94 people at one point, so we almost got to 100. We're at about 80 right now, which is awesome. Let's see. This is a good point from Crack. The high power would be better if John Moses Browning would have lived longer. Absolutely. When you look at his original patent documents on the high power, it's a very alien looking pistol. It looks like something that should be in a Halo game. Like, it's very foreign looking. Personally, I think he was trying to get away from some of his previous designs. I think he liked to do new things. I think that was exciting for him.
I agree.
So, yeah, I would be. I often wonder if he would have got 15 more years, what else would he have done? You know,
if he got to see like the explosion of post World War II infantry rifles. Right. Oh man.
Yeah, can you imagine what he would have done with like trying to improve on like a Thompson? Yeah. Or like gosh, what are some other guns? I mean, I feel like
he did the BAR for
so that's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah. So like the Belgians improve on the BAR, you get the FN Model D. I mean, that gun is like 8 pounds lighter than the BAR.
Yes.
I mean, you're at that point. I mean, you're looking at actual infantry rifle territory right there, and that's a shitload of firepower for that time period.
It is.
And can I just say one thing? And I know it's probably obvious to a lot of people, but try not to, because people will complain. You've heard it. Oh, the Thompson was too heavy, and the BAR. You're looking at that through modern 2026 eyes, where we have space polymers and space metals and magnesium firearms and all this kind of modern, ultra modern crap. Try, as hard as it may be, try to go back and put yourself in their shoes and what they're dealing with in those days. You don't got CNC machines. You have no computers. You have the metallurgy is not as good as it is today. They're using blueprints and drawings, and they're filing this stuff by hand, and they're putting all this stuff together. And sometimes, in certain cases, they're under the crunch of looming war, and they're like, look, we got to get this out as fast as we can. So you make compromises. You have a heavy gun, and some of these guns have to be extremely heavy and sturdy because the metallurgy wasn't as good as it is today, or whatever. Just try to put yourself in their shoes back in the day and what they were doing. And then you'll realize, it'll blow your mind how amazing it is that they did this stuff. And everything modern today was built off of something previous. So you stand on the shoulders of giants, like we said.
100%. Well, on top of that, when I was in the fire department, there were people who were always shocked at like like we'd be carrying like 60 to 80 pounds of gear to go on a fire, right, or a call or vehicle accident, whatever. And it's no big deal to us for one simple reason: we live with that stuff. You're in it all the time. You train in it, and that's another thing is when you go, to a gun show and you pick up a BAR, you're like, oh, it's so heavy. Okay, well, carry it around for a month, and you adapt. And I think that's a big thing people miss out too. Is like when you live with these things. Like for me, yeah, you got your standard gear, your bunker gear, which is like basically a quilt, a tarp, and then Kevlar. And you're wrapped in that. You're wearing steel encased boots. You got your helmet. You got your apparatus. Pockets usually full of tools. You got your married tools, which is an axe and a Halligan. That alone right there is probably 30 pounds. And then maybe like spare bottle, med bag. You're carrying a bunch of stuff, right? And when you first get into it, you're like, this sucks. Everything about this sucks.
Yeah. Yep.
But after a while, it's like holding a cell phone. You get used to it. And
Yep.
when I hear people talk about the BAR, they talk about it with nothing but affection. They're like, oh, man. Because they could lay some hate with 30-06. Even in the A3 cyclic rate, it's still 30-06, guys.
And let's not forget, it was invented in World War One.
Yes.
World War One, a fully automatic rifle. It was essentially a heavy rifle. You're talking about when World War II happened, all the nations with standard issue rifle were bolt action rifles, except for the United States.
It took
with the M1.
It would take. I remember seeing something where they were like, it's one of the biggest force multipliers, because now you have one guy. He's basically 10 men.
Yeah.
You basically have one guy who can lay down this amazing volume of fire. Man, it just
In the era of bolt actions.
yes,
Right. It's like
You
the
know?
same. It's like the same transition. Like guys we would talk about going from like the trapdoor Springfield to like a lever action Winchester.
Yeah.
That's a force multi. Same thing. Like one guy now has the firepower of like 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you got 5 rounds in the gun versus 1. Right.
What did they
Right.
used to call it? That Yankee rifle you can load on Sunday and shoot all week?
Yep.
Yeah,
There was
the
when
Spencer
I-
carbine. Yeah.
When I
Yes.
lived in Virginia, there's the battle of Cold Harbor, where the Yankees had lever guns. I think they had Henrys. Boy, they just wore the Confederates' asses out on that damn thing. And that's, that just proved the effectiveness of multiple firing firearms,
Yep. Yeah. Repeating arms, man.
Repeating, thank you. Yeah, repeating arms.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember something about the BAR. It was so revolutionary that once we had it, we were reluctant to use it.
Yeah, because they didn't want it to fall into enemy hands.
Yeah. They
Exactly.
delayed it
Yep.
for months.
And then the war ended. Yeah.
Yeah. It only saw service for like 6 weeks in the World War One.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. I still have you guys seen Highwaymen?
Oh
Oh,
my
yeah.
God, yeah,
Dude,
fantastic.
you want to talk about when freaking Kevin Costner, who doesn't love Kevin Costner?
Right now,
He's
right?
like, it's a cult monitor.
Oh,
Dude,
yeah.
that scene is like,
Yeah.
there's so much about that movie that I love, but you got Woody Harrelson there with a single action army, legit, nickel plated, and it's a cult monitor, and he just hoses it, which, of course, I counted the rounds. There's way too many rounds.
Of course, movie magic,
Yeah.
But my favorite scene in that movie, and I'm sure you guys will all agree, is when he walks that gun store and he just
Oh,
walks
yes.
out, and the kids carrying guns, loading them in the car, and I'm like, oh God, to be
So,
back
you know
then,
what?
and you just buy whatever the hell you wanted.
Used to
right?
be a
If,
proper country.
Yeah,
That's
used to
right.
be a proper. That's right.
Yeah.
If you go on YouTube, there's a guy who is the gun. What do they call him? Like he's basically the gun supplier. He did
Right.
the guns for that movie, and he's on YouTube and he talks about all of them and like which ones were real, which ones were props in certain scenes. It is one of my favorite videos, and he talks about that scene where they're carrying them out. Most of those were real guns.
Oh shit.
07s, BARs, 1911s, Thompsons. He said they had I might be misquoting, but there is a real Colt monitor in that movie, which is just
Did they have a Remington Model 8 in that?
yes.
In 351?
I want to say that was one of the guns because he talked a lot about when they actually killed Bonnie and Clyde.
Uh-huh.
They had that, the 1907, I want to say the BAR was there.
Yeah.
And then
A Thompson was not, though, apparently, but they
That's
had
right.
it in the movie.
That's
Yeah.
right. Well, I don't remember.
I saw a video where they said with the real ambush, when they ambushed them, they did not have a Thompson, and in the movie they used one. I don't know if that's true or not,
Yeah.
but
Well, I just know. I mean, as much as I appreciate the overkill, I feel like just the monitor probably would have got it
just
done.
it probably would have been enough. Yeah.
I mean, that's rough, man.
There's a good question here of
Yeah.
Browning's influence on the AR. And
Ooh.
I would say probably not on the AR mechanically,
Yeah.
just form factor wise, because it had so much had so much influence on the AK, which then influenced the AR.
Well, he was the one to discover invent gas operated firearms.
That's fair. That's true.
That's a good point though. Like, and that could be a whole nother stream in itself about Eugene Stoner. The AR. It's so funny. All these like, oh, the military is trying to find a new rifle, and I'm just like, stop.
Stop.
Just
I know.
stop.
Just stop.
Who are you? Whose wheels are you trying to grease with a contract? Just stop. Like that's another one. It's like, stop trying to make a better rifle. Like, to quote Clint Smith, God and Eugene Stoner got together. It's like they figured it out. It's done. It's over.
Just make better ammo if that's the case. Actually, you know what? Probably make better marksmen. Put more hits on target, and you won't have a problem.
I'll be honest with you. This is probably an unpopular opinion. I actually way prefer the AK sights, iron sights, to the AR. I know, like, in terms of the adjustments, the AR is way better. I don't like looking through a thing. I like the open top. That just, to me, visually makes way more sense. Even like the Mazins, all those guns. I just feel like looking through a tiny hole it's harder to like.
Your situational awareness is better with
Thank you.
the U-notch.
Yeah.
Much better.
So much of U.S. service rifle iron sights are based on like match qualifying.
Yep,
Right.
qualifying on the range. Yep.
And they're not really designed for combat, which is annoying.
Jared AF has a great video on this, and he talked about that, how like people will make these statements like, "Oh, it's not a target gun," and he's like, "No, like all of our sights are target sights." And look, that's one thing Americans have always been, as shooters. We're marksmen, but there is something about that, like, man, the open top sights just visually to me are so much faster.
Well, I saw this thing on it. Going back to Paul Harrell, if you ever watch my favorite video of him, the Miami-Dade FBI shootout video is my favorite video he does. But he says, and that day, basically, again, I'm paraphrasing like Josh says, because somebody will probably roast me for it, but he says it wasn't a lack of courage or bravery, that it was a lack of marksmanship.
Yes.
Not putting the hits on target. And I think the 30 carbine got a bad rap for that during Korea. Oh, you're shooting a Chinese. Have you ever heard all these FUD lore? You're shooting a Chinese soldier with the big coats. They weren't dropping. And then, well, I think maybe you were thinking you were hitting when you weren't hitting.
Yeah.
Because the 30 carbine is no joke. You're basically shooting 357 Magnum out of that. And you never, ever, ever hear any complaints about that from World War II. Nope. It was always the Korea stuff that 30 carbine sucks. 30 carbine. Oh, well, I don't know about that.
From World War II, everyone loved the carbines.
Loved it.
Yeah.
And it did the job really well.
Yep. Yeah, man. No, I'm totally with you there. I'm such a fan of the M1 carbine. That little bullet is an angry little thing. And
and that's a light, handy rifle. My gosh, is that
so
thing
good,
just
man.
lighting.
I've got this thing it's not my original term, but I call them woods walking guns. Like, M1 carbine's probably in the top 3 for me of like a woods walking gun, where I'm going to throw a spare 15 in my pocket, 15 round mag, one of the gun, go walk in the woods. You're fine. Like, as a camp rifle, like, it's,
camp carbine type of, yeah,
man. People try to come up with these little like fold away things. I'm like, just get an M1 carbine, dude.
Just get an M1 carbine, bro. They figured it out a long time ago.
It's like 5.25 pounds loaded. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's great.
All right, gents, we're going to wrap it up I want to thank everybody for being here. Awesome time. Thank you, Mike, Matt, Mark, all the M's. It was awesome. Appreciate you guys being on here. And,
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll do it again. And yeah, we got chats are still going, man. I always feel bad cutting it off. It's like there's this there, you know, at my church, there's that part where everybody's greeting each other, and you feel bad stopping that. You're like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I know you guys
I'm
are
sorry,
really
I have to greet everybody.
Yeah. But anyway, thank you guys. Really appreciate you being here, and we will see you on the next one.
Here, guys.
Yeah.